All right, say something funny.
Ibuki is low tier in Street Fighter V.
Got it. But yeah, dude, episode 10, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of like last minute and everything. I know. I was like, hey, I was supposed to do an episode today, but things changed. But yeah, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. And a couple of weeks ago, I was like, hey, do you want to come on again? We have a lot to talk about. And it was, a lot has happened in the past, like 2 months. Like an immense amount of things. Like it's overwhelming as far as like Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8 goes,
Yeah, that's right. We have not spoken on the podcast since the Cammy reveal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after the Cammy reveal, it was like, okay, we gotta talk. Like, But yeah, and then the main thing I wanted to start on with was the $2 million prize pool. I know it's a little bit old news at the moment because it's like, I don't know, like a month and a half ago since Capcom Cup. But I wanted to start there because I think that is going to bring immense amount of changes to competitive fighting games. And kind of wanted to see what you thought about that. Do you think like $2 million is going to be like new standard, or do you think that's going to be a Street Fighter standard, or do you think, what do you think is going to come about with this new $1 million first prize take home in a $2 million prize pool?
I think it might be the new standard. I have a feeling that right now, all the other devs from other companies are kind of watching Street Fighter 6 right now to be like, okay, so how's this going to pan out? So if the sales are good, which is independent of the prize pool, I don't think that's why Capcom did it, but if the game sells well and they get a lot of viewership, and just in terms of like really just like the marketing and sponsorship money that comes in and like all the ad revenue that should be generated by this, if that pays off, then yeah, we are going to see a ripple effect for sure.
Yeah, and dude, their marketing campaign has been immensely aggressive. Like it's been a killer marketing campaign. I gotta hand it to them, dude. They've been with like doing WWE. They did a Saturday Night Live skit that was not funny, but it's still none. It was on. It was still on Saturday Night Live, which was cool. But the whole they've been doing. They did WWE. They did all their different reveals and everything. So I think the game is set to be successful. I remember a year ago we first talked, or not a year ago, like 6 months ago, you're like, I don't think Street Fighter 6 is going to be as successful as people are making it out to be. And at the moment, or at the time, I fairly agreed with you, but as time has gone on with this marketing campaign and the way people have been talking about it, and when I saw, especially after the Cammy reveal, when you see Twitter trending and it was like 50,000 tweets about Cammy White, you're like, dude, like, what the heck is dude, this is going to be, I personally think it's going to be one of the, if not the most successful fighting game to be released. I'm going to stamp that. I think it is.
I think it could be. What's cool about the Cammy reveal is that it was kind of a slap in the face to all like the typical triple like A features that people are trying to push into fighting games at the moment.
How so?
And I'm not saying like they should have like an anemic launch like Street Fighter V did, but like when you have like a 20-hour story mode or like Tekken bowling, that doesn't trend on Twitter. What trends is Cammy's back. Have you seen Cammy yet? People still love Cammy, and I think that, to me, then there's room for a healthy disagreement here, but I find it to be a healthy reminder that people play fighting games for the characters.
Yes,
and you can have a conquest mode where you're
the casual people play for that. Yeah, people really want to see their characters, and the casual crowd and the fans are really big into that.
I think they keep playing for that, but I don't think they buy the game for that. I think they buy the game for Cammy in yoga pants. I think that's actually what gets the copy off the shelf and into the living room.
Really?
At least I think so. Yeah.
I mean, I agree and I disagree. I disagree because I think that Street Fighter has a legacy that is so embedded in everyone. Like you can see professional Street Fighter players nowadays that are 40 plus years old because they've been playing since Street Fighter 2 back in the arcades. And Street Fighter has been so embedded into just gaming culture in general. I mean, if you said Hadouken, everyone's going to know exactly what you're talking about. And so I think that on legacy alone, that Street Fighter sells. Now, to get it off the shelf, I think having Cammy, especially with a wardrobe and a complete redesign of her, I wouldn't say redesign because she still looks like Cammy, but like new costume, new haircut is definitely going to help sell and help hold characters' interests, especially if they do like more costume with, you know, DLC in the future. But I disagree in that that's not what sells. I think Street Fighter sells because it's Street Fighter, but I agree with you that it is a massive selling point.
Yeah, I think the thing about I keep calling it conquest modes. I can't actually remember. I think it's like something World Tour or whatever.
Just call it story mode. Let's just call it story mode.
So I guess if we did a thought experiment, let's say Street Fighter 6 comes out and in the first 60 days it sells 3 million copies, which it could be more, it could be less. I don't think this game was terribly expensive budget-wise, but I could be wrong about that. But let's say it's 3 million, right? Then
you really think 3? That's it?
I mean, that's pretty good to be honest with you.
That's true. Like, okay, Mortal Kombat 11 sold 12 million copies. How long did it take for them to sell 12 million? How long did it take for them to sell 11 million?
I don't think that long. I think within the first 6 months they got 11 million units.
Okay. So, do you remember Street Fighter 5? How long it took them to sell? I think it was 7 million. I could be wrong, but
I actually don't know. I want to say it was 2 million the first year.
Okay.
I'm not actually sure. But it could be more than 3 million. The reason why I say 3 million for the sake of the example is of those 3 million, how many people had an in-depth knowledge of the single player experience prior to purchase? That's kind of where I think the answer to the riddle lies is if the single player content is selling on casuals, the casuals have to know about the content. And it's not obvious to me that's the case. It sounds like those who are following the marketing are looking at, oh crap, there's Zangief, right? It's not clear to me they know there's going to be a customizable single player experience. But I mean, then again, my ear is not exactly to the wall, so I could be wrong about that. We'll see though. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited about it because you know, I'm a pretty big Street Fighter fan, and seeing that, you know, how the marketing campaign has gone and how people have reacted to it too, and everything, especially the Cammy reveal, that was insane, because not only did it get people like hyped up for Street Fighter 6, it also brought up like the controversy whether or not people liked the redesign, you know, and it just got people talking about it even more, which was cool. By the way, I love the redesign. I don't know, like, what did you think about it?
No, man, it's not bad. Like, it looks fine, all right.
Okay,
but it's funny because I just got off a conversation about Resident Evil like not even 30 minutes ago. To me, the thing is, I don't like it when characters like look like a completely different person. Now, the face doesn't bother me too much because Cammy is like 10 years older, I think. So she should have a different face. I'll give them a pass on that. But like, if you block out her face, that just looks like a different person to me. It doesn't look like Cammy from Street Fighter 5 at all. And now, if I was the devil's advocate myself, Cammy has changed like a million times throughout like the history. But like,
her outfit's been pretty consistent. She's
Yeah,
always had
yeah.
the thong. She's always had the thong back leotard. Like that's consistent. But
It's a hard flag for me to defend because Street Fighter
uh-huh.
V changed her as well. That was also kind of a redesign in many ways. Not in terms of her costume, but in terms of like her physique. A lot of character like Chun-Li, you'll notice her legs get bigger every single game, right? So
Yep.
Cammy,
Yeah, but
yeah,
like in that regards too was Chun-Li was first designed. I always forget the name of the guy who designed her, but Chun-Li's original design was supposed to be like thicker legs because the guy who designed him, that was his preference in women. That was his preference in the way he in the women he was attracted to. So that's why he designed Chun-Li to be like that. And yeah, her legs do get thicker and thicker every single time. And uh yeah, so
it's not a surprise, honestly.
uh
It's kind of like the natural progression of every fighting game, right?
mhm,
MK9 didn't happen overnight. Like
mhm,
that's kind of something that built up over the years. But it's something like the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, this is a stupid thing to be annoyed about
mhm,
because like it, Street Fighter V is not a defensible position to hold. Like that was also a change, right?
mhm,
So I wish faces would stop changing. I wish like character physiques would stop changing. I
mhm,
wish personalities would stop changing. But like it, yeah. If I'm going to say if I want to say the dial needs to be at Street Fighter V Cammy, I realized over time I can't really defend that position because
mhm,
that itself was an aberration to what Cammy used to be. Right? Cammy looked nothing like that in Street Fighter 2. So the design is fine. That's
mhm.
my final verdict. I don't like the hair because she looks way too much like Android 18, and that actually is a defensible position. I think that's a reasonable thing to not like. It just
A
bothers
lot of
me.
people thought that she looked way too much like what's her name from King of Fighters.
Oh, King.
King?
Yeah, from a KOF, or maybe I'm thinking of someone else. Let me get a picture real quick for you.
It's like something blue. I always forget her name. But
Oh, Blue Mary, Blue Mary. Okay,
mhm.
I see that as well.
Yeah. So I
I was
mean,
thinking the hair, but yeah.
yeah, the white girl with the bob cut blonde hair and the blue eyes. It's like every single and Nina Williams as well. So it's like that's the one thing I complain about. But at the same time, it's like when it comes to actual character designs, especially like this, it's like personally, I really like Cammy's redesign. I really like her outfit. I really like her hair. And I think it's a really cool redesign. But at the same, I don't know if you saw the leak of her level 3 super, and
I
it
did, yeah.
yeah, and you can put her in her old costume. And I was looking at her face. Her face looks like her Street Fighter 5 face, and
Yeah.
so I mean, it's people can complain about it in everything. And I remember there's this one guy who went, I don't want to say viral, but a lot of people retweeted his tweet, and he was, I don't I don't like it when people say I don't like it because it's not the original. It's like, even if it is a good redesign, even if it is a great costume, just because it's not the original I don't think is a very valid reason to not like something.
I would agree with that. And we come from the Mortal Kombat community where
Mm-hmm.
Deadly Alliance and Deception and even MK9 were all about giving characters new visuals, right? So I actually
Mm-hmm.
like that aspect of it. Um, Even in the leaked level 3, though, I thought, like, what's wrong with her face? Her face doesn't quite look right. And then the
Mm-hmm.
trailer comes out, I'm like, oh, she doesn't have eyebrows anymore. Okay, that makes a difference. That's why it's
Yeah.
bothering me. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sucking it up because and to be fair, like I love seeing everyone happy about it. I
Mm-hmm.
love seeing because Cammy is one of my characters. I want to learn that character when she comes out.
She
I'll
looks
probably main
super,
Chun
dude.
Li.
Her entire kit looks so good.
I'm
But
definitely going to hold off to learn her just because I know everyone else is going to be dogpiling on that character, right?
yeah,
But
that's
I'll stick with Chun most likely. And unfortunately,
yeah.
man,
We played a little bit
I don't know.
during beta, and your Chun was really good.
And she's fun
So
too. I like what
mhm.
they've done with her in this game. A part of me is hoping Blanca isn't fun just because I hate looking at that character. But he's one of my
Yeah.
characters. He's one of my boys. Gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
have Blanca. See hopefully Blanca Chan's available. But Yeah, it's
Yep.
great seeing Cammy get all this positive attention.
She's always
Will
had
it
positive
translate?
attention.
Yeah, well,
I can't think of a time when she didn't.
she's a bombshell and she's a classic, and that is a very powerful combination.
Hmm.
You see other
I would
characters
argue
who are bombshells.
I would
What's that?
argue Chun Li is the same.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
they're in that same league, but they're
Hmm.
just different enough, right? So,
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to have two, like, we're not going to have two blonde bombshells. It's going to be like, okay, a pretty Chinese girl, you know, is the strongest woman in the world and is super cool with kung fu, and then you have the blonde bombshell who's the, you know, English assassin. So it's like it's good to have the two attractive characters in the game, you know,
yeah,
who look very different.
and also in a way, like it kind of goes back to like the relationship between colors and characters in fighting games. Like one of
Hmm.
the reasons why Mortal Kombat is so beloved, I really think it's because of the ninjas. And why do we love the ninjas? I mean, it's
Hmm.
let's be real, it's the Power Rangers effect, right? So
Hmm.
I think you
Ooh,
know,
Power Rangers is coming out with like something new, aren't they? Like
I've
a show or
actually
a movie
never
or something.
followed Power Rangers. I don't really know much about the franchise.
I just saw a random trailer with Billy and Zach, and it was like,
Interesting.
yeah, and it was like the original five, and from the original five, you know. So anyway, yeah, we don't talk about that. But
So yeah, I mean, it's
yeah.
I think that's going to help sales more than the single player content. Honestly, is having a cool looking Cammy that everyone loves.
Hmm.
Um, and as much as the design, as much as it wasn't really my thing,
Hmm.
I'm still glad everyone else loves it. Like, I'm trying to be more. I think one of the things I messed up on early was after the beta, I was very critical of the game. And it's
Hmm.
not because I didn't. I like the game. I like the game better than Street Fighter Five. I'm being honest with you. At least right now, that could change over time. I
Yeah.
think the game is really good, but it just,
Well, did you like
you
Street
know,
Fighter Five better than Street Fighter Four?
oh gosh, man, that's tough. It's such a complicated question because if
Okay.
we're taking the best version of Street Fighter 4,
Hmm.
then no. To this day, I still like Street Fighter 4 2012 is my favorite Street Fighter ever made. Um,
Hmm.
but the final version of 5 versus the final version of 4, it's
Even
not even a
really,
contest.
that's a
The
bold
final
statement,
version of
dude.
4
Even better than
sucks.
old Ultra Street Fighter 4, you think is better than Third Strike?
Yeah, but don't tell
Uh-oh.
anyone I said that.
No,
That's going to
dude,
be
it's
between us.
oh no, it's totally, you
Your
know, not gonna
secret.
get put on the podcast that I'm about to upload
That's
here.
good. That
And
was my next question. So that's a huge relief. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
actually, I've been playing a lot of Third Strike lately. I've been loving Third Strike, which was not the case in the past. I've always respected
yeah,
the game, but this is the
yeah.
first time I'm actually like having fun.
You know, what's funny was my son, he really likes Third Strike. And he would play it, but it's like I would, you know, I hadn't played it in so long that he was beating me in this game. And so like one day I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and learn Ken. And I sat down and learned Ken, and now he doesn't want to play it anymore because he's just like, Dad,
Aw.
you're too good at it. And I was like, I'm not gonna let my 8-year-old son beat me at this game. This game. It's like you gotta
Well, it's
learn
not too late for him to,
you
yeah.
gotta learn the hard way, son.
Well,
But
people just gravitate towards Third Strike. There's
yeah.
that game will cast a spell on people.
Hmm.
Even before I really learned the game, honestly, I still haven't really learned the game. I have a
Hmm.
long journey ahead of me, but it's interesting seeing how people talk about that game and just how powerful it is.
It is, and everything about it, the aesthetics, the stages, the sprites look really cool. You know, what really got to me was actually the soundtrack too. It was like I remember listening to Ninja Village like in my car on the way to the gym. I was like, it's like it's fun, it's upbeat, and it kind of made me like I wanted to make this meme where it's like Tekken is sad fighting, Street Fighter is happy fighting, Mortal Kombat is angry fighting. You know, it's like because that's what those games are. It's like, you know, pick your genre of fighting, but Street Fighter is just fun, and even Third Strike was the like I enjoyed listening to the soundtrack, and that's something they're bringing back into Street Fighter 6. Like I will put on the Street Fighter 6 YouTube playlist and listen to like the Ryu theme and the Jury theme and the JP theme. Like they got great music.
And it's always a dangerous game talking anything negative about the Street Fighter 3 like soundtrack in the Discord. People don't like that. They really don't like that.
Don't like talking about what?
Well, if anyone who has like negative perceptions of the Third Strike soundtrack, those are not welcome opinions. Which I kind of like that. I like that people are kind of standing the ground on that.
Yeah. How dare you talk poorly about Third Strike? Like,
yeah. That's why I love this Third Strike community, because they give a shit. I love that about them.
Yeah.
But neither the Street Fighter 6 or the Street Fighter 3 soundtrack are really my jam. I'm going to the gym after this, and I had the Vampire Saver soundtrack loaded up already. That's what I jam to.
Really?
Oh, it's so good. It's like this sort of like jazz fusion, but with like an emphasis on like piano. Yeah, it's just very. If you've listened to like any like the like middle era, like the pre-fusion Miles Davis era, that's kind of what some of the piano jazz reminds me of. I love that music so much. I find Third Strike soundtrack to be a little bit repetitive. That's my only real criticism.
Yeah, I mean, it does have that like 90s chill rap, going for it.
Though I like the main theme a lot. Like the actual like main theme rap song is really good. But
I just like 90s hip hop, it's like the sound of it and everything. It's like if you listen to 90s hip hop, it actually sounds like it's almost like relaxing.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, I mean, and yeah, so even some of the games, like, gosh, that was early 2000s. What was that song? Balla. Like, just that chill 90s hip hop vibe. That's what I get from it. And I was actually on my way to jiu-jitsu the other day, and the two songs that really got to me, and they're completely different soundtracks too, I'm sorry, completely different genres, is I was listening to the Ryu theme, and I was actually getting stoked and hyped and everything, and I had a great session, from that. Music is powerful, dude, and Cyborg made a really good video about the power of music and how in Mortal Kombat, like, the character selects music is like should be designed to hype you up for a fight and everything. That's why walkout songs are so prevalent. And then I was listening to what's that song called? The something of the spark, Kai Kisuke's
The Roar of the Spark.
The Roar of the Spark. Thank you. The Roar of the Spark. Kai Kisuke's a theme from Strive, and yeah, that gets me pumped up too, and everything.
That is a good song. I do like that song. I mean, back when you were listening to hip hop in the 90s, I was listening to like German power metal, so like that's like right up my alley. And, but
like you're listening to I'm totally drawing a blank. Du Haas.
Like Dragon Force. Oh, Rammstein. Oh no, I wasn't. That's the industrial side. That Shad was listening to that, right? I was listening to like Rhapsody of Fire, although they weren't called that back. Like Blind Guardian, Luca Torelli. I hope I pronounced that right. So yeah, just all the really cheesy stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then in the early 2000s, I was going through my Massachusetts metalcore phase, so life was good. But
early 2000s, everybody was listening to Kill Switch Engage and As I Lay Dying, so it was like
and Shadows Fall,
yeah. and all and then they all popped up on Guitar Hero 2 and 3, and so everybody got like really stoked on the song 6 from all that.
So, and all those bands pretty much faded out. Like Kill Switch Engage was like the last survivor of the Hunger Games. As They Lay Dying imploded for that's a whole other podcast, honestly.
Yeah. Tim Limbasis tried to have his wife murdered, and then
after he took steroids, went crazy. It's such a fascinating.
But during that time, I mean, they did produce Austrian Death. What was it called? Austrian.
The Arnold Schwarzenegger metal concept album.
Austrian
Death Machine, I think.
It is Austrian Death Machine, yeah, dude. And it was like, if you ever want to get pumped on the listen to Austrian Death Machine. And then Easy Core popped up, and I still to this day I like listening to like what are some of those Easy Core bands? It's like metal, it's like pop punk with breakdowns. That's the joke.
I kind of skipped out on all that, to be honest.
Oh, really?
At least I think I did.
Yeah.
If you name a band, I'll know.
Oh, gosh, what's that band? Dude, I'm drawing so many blanks during this podcast. This is eating me alive right now. And I don't even have, like, where's my phone? Like, I don't even have my phone with me. But
Avenged Sevenfold kind of comes to mind, maybe, but I don't know if that counts. But they're kind
no,
of the punk pop mixed in with metalcore.
they
Well, sort of like a
are.
retro element.
They have like an 80s, they have kind of that Motley Crue meets metalcore vibe to them. Yeah. Killswitch Engage is still going strong. Um, yeah, and a lot of them phased out. One of my favorite bands was Poison the Well, and they're on a reunion tour, or were for a minute. Thrice is doing a reunion tour, but they're like post-hardcore. And gosh, how's that? What is that band that's eating me right now? It's like they're still to this day really. They have how's it go? Da 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 dun 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 da 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 da. And that's literally how the song starts.
That sounds like Life to Lifeless by Killswitch Engage.
No, it's not them. Gosh dang it, this is gonna. I'm googling this right now. Well, I don't care.
I guess to wrap up my thoughts on Third Strike, though, like I admire the fans, I admire the allure it has in the game, and I really am super glad to be playing it. I can't even say playing it again because I never
A Day to Remember.
Oh man, I've never listened to them, but I know a lot of people who did.
Yeah, okay.
I know there were a lot of memes about that.
Sorry, just started to blurt that out. A Day to Remember.
No, that's good.
Great band. I love that band.
I forgot about them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're listen to A Day to Remember. They're a great band. Okay, Third Strike, go.
Yes, it's good to be playing it for the first time, honestly. And to kind of sort of know what I'm doing. That's been really fun. I'm sorry I don't like the soundtrack as much as everyone else does, but other than that, everything else has been really, really nice, right? And I think what's really cool about the game is watching how other people approach it. Because the people who play it are very passionate about it, and you can see kind of like my favorite fighting games are ones that let me do the things I want to do, and you can really see immediately why they like the character they're playing, why they like the game, and why they like the meta, and how they decide to approach it. It's always so evident when you watch anyone play Third Strike, and that's been really fascinating for me.
Yeah, I mean, still to this day, I mean, Justin Wong is like killing it in Third Strike, and he plays it a lot. You know, so, and it's really cool to actually like play Third Strike and then come back and play like Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5 and see how the game's mechanics and just like the feel of the games have remained the same.
You know? I think the speed of the game, I think, is one of the big appeals of it is like, because the game, you have so many mobility options with the super jump, and dashes are really good in that game.
Yeah. Jirabuki's dash is crazy.
Do what you want to do. Yes, that character is so dumb. I had no idea how dumb that character was. Everyone told me she was so bad in that game, which is mostly true. She's like low mid.
She's mid tier.
She struggles, but like her matchups are so lopsided. Like, if you play against a character whose hitbox has to put up with like standing jab, like it's a field trip. I love it. But I guess back to it was the $1 million for Capcom Cup. How much was it? Or was it
okay, so yeah, we're going back. So it's going to be a $2 million prize pool, a $1 million. Yeah, Capcom Cup 2023 is going to be, or 2023 go to 2024 is going to have a $1 million grand prize with over $2 million prize pool. So the winner of Capcom Cup is going to take home $1 million, and there's going to be, I don't know if is it another $1 million prize pool, or it might be like a $2 million total prize pool. I'm not sure. But it's $2 million prize pool. That was the thing. And $1 million is going towards first place. And that's it. I don't know if that's going to be standard, because it was $120,000 take home for this year's Capcom Cup, which I thought was like, wow, $120,000. That's freaking amazing, you know? And then you look at all the other games, like Tekken was like $50,000, which is still pretty good. But then you look at all the other games here, it's just like, dude, it's like nothing in comparison, you know, into those. So it's like, is this a means for other games such as Tekken and Mortal Kombat to kind of step it up?
I think, well, for Mortal Kombat, I think they're going to do whatever they're going to do. For Tekken, I think they would struggle to do it if they try, just because I think like Bandai Namco is so disorganized internally. I don't know if they'd be able to prop Tekken that high up into the clouds if they tried. So
Mhm.
they would need some time. I think they could with enough prep work, but I don't
Mhm.
think it's anytime soon.
Mhm.
I think they're going to be following that shadow for a little bit, depending
Mhm.
how this $2 million things goes, right? But I think one thing people are not talking about is how they're going to fund this. Now, originally I thought, oh, they're going to use all that Monster Hunter money. Also, they knew this game was coming out
Yeah,
like
that
after.
Resident Evil 4 remake money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it wasn't an accident. This game is coming out after RE4, right? So they're
Mhm.
probably thinking like, we're getting all those Leon Kennedy dollars. We don't need to worry about it, which is probably somewhat true. But then
Mhm.
I started thinking about it, and I'm like, well, they had DLC content specifically to fund Capcom Cup. And I have a feeling we're going to see a much higher scale campaign of Capcom Cup specific DLC. And I think so
Mhm.
basically you're going to see like premium $10 costumes and whatnot. And that's where they're really going to start testing the waters hard. Because I think that is going to get more expensive. I think we're going to see a lot more like Fortnite esque content for that. And I think that's really where
Mhm.
the single player isn't going to become important because if they start doing like log in during the Capcom Cup event
Mhm.
to get your new customs for your avatar or whatever, right?
Mhm.
I think we're going to see much more live service content for Street Fighter 6 because of that.
Yeah, and I can
It's not a
also
bad thing.
no,
Yeah.
not at all. I can also see like things like, for instance, Street Fighter Duel. The mobile game is actually immensely successful. It's like really successful, and shoot, I put $20 into it, and I know a lot of other people that play it uh, also did the same thing. It's like, it's a mobile game. Mobile games are incredibly lucrative, particularly in Korea and Japan, and I can see that game. I can see Street Fighter Duel actually, put funding into it for sure. But I don't think funding is a problem for Capcom though. I don't think that the $2 million is necessarily something that they're worrying about.
Yeah, I think you're mostly right. I
I,
think a lot of it is going to be, I think, part of an
mm-hmm,
experiment for them.
mm-hmm,
So I think they really want to see how far fighting games can go as a platform.
yeah, and
And
you're right in that, because currently it's like there's Street Fighter, and I mean globally, I that's the cool thing about it. It's like street fighting games aren't near as big as shooters and battle royales, League of Legends. They're not up there. They're not on par with that amount of players. But globally, it's like there's a like it. I am proud of the Saudis and the Pakistanis that are killing it in Tekken and doing really good. And it's cool to see like the Middle East do that. It's also cool to see like Latin America, doing really good with Street Fighter, and um is it the it was a Dominican player who actually like won. Is it I
oh
how do
yeah,
you
no, it's
how do you pronounce it? How do
Menard
you
RD.
pronounce Menardi?
Menard or Menard
Yeah,
RD. That's how
yeah.
I say it. Yeah.
Mena RD. That's what it's like. Menard, Mena
Oh,
RD.
yes,
Yeah.
that was man. That was a
Yeah.
Freudian slip. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Menard.
Yeah, no, I was like, I know it. I hate to pronounce it improperly. So yeah, Mena RD. Yeah, it's like he's a Dominican player. It's cool to see like a Latino player take home. So it's like globally, Street Fighter is just killing it. But it's like Mortal Kombat really only exists in the West.
And he's the only two-time Capcom Cup winner of ever, like of all time, right?
Yeah, the only 2 time, and the first time he was the youngest.
I forgot about the youngest, but that
Hmm.
makes sense though.
Yeah, dude,
It's so
the guy's
funny. It's such
breaking
a
all sorts of
yeah.
records.
It's an interesting conclusion
Uh-huh.
because like after that they nerfed Birdie, and he spent like the next few years just complaining about how badly they nerfed Birdie and just going from character to character.
Yeah,
So he made quite the comeback, and it was a confident comeback. Like he really
he did really well.
came out full force. So and
Yeah.
also like what's cool about him winning is if IDOM wins, he takes all that money back to New York State, right? Where
Hmm.
it's worth whatever it's worth. But in the Dominican Republic, like that money goes a long way. Like you
Yeah,
just
that
start a business
120.
and have money left
Mm-hmm.
over.
Yeah, dude, that 120,000 is a good chunk of change for
Yeah.
To take home to the Dominican.
It's almost the best case scenario if you look at it through that
Mhm.
lens, right? So
And there's
yeah.
a really cool picture of like his, like his friends and family and stuff like that watching him like in the Dominican. Like it was like this big, there's like this picture of like this I want to say it's like a bar or something. It was something like that, but they were all watching him play and everything. It was back home. It was really cool to see that many people supporting him.
And this is the
Yeah,
last Capcom Cup for Street Fighter 5 too. This
it
is it.
is. And that's okay. I mean, it's going to be Street Fighter 6 comes out in June, so June 2nd.
Yeah.
So June 1st if you pre-ordered.
Oh man, I
So
still need to do that. But yeah, so
I pre-ordered day of when they said pre-order to like today, and I was like, take my money. This beta
We're
was
almost there,
amazing.
dude. We have like 8 weeks left. It's crazy.
Oh man, I got to request those days off. All right.
I'm
Yeah.
actually checking that. Do I work? Well, I mean, if I work, I'm still gonna play. I'm gonna play while I'm at work. It's not a big deal. But still, though, it would be
Don't
nice
say
to
that
have
out
these
loud.
off.
You're not supposed to say
So
that.
I'm not running for mayor. So yeah, but and to circle back even further, even before the prize, I
Mhm.
do regret being as critical as I was about Street Fighter 6.
Okay.
Because I wasn't saying anything that wasn't true. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, I believe more strongly about it now than I did before.
Yeah.
But I think I it's just not as useful to talk
Mhm.
about the positive things because we're in the business of solving problems and giving criticism, right? So I could talk about the good things, but I just feel like that conversation is kind of done. And I
Mhm.
think another reason why I was probably as negative as I was
Mhm.
is because there seemed to be something wrong with the conversation around the game. That was my perception, at least.
Mhm.
Um, I felt people were being extremely disingenuous about how powerful Drive Impact was. This whole narrative of, oh, it's like it's not even a factor once you play the game for a while.
Mhm.
That's technically true, but it's still very dishonest. It's not a factor because you built your whole game plan around it, right?
I mean,
So
meter
it
management
basically
is a big deal. Like meter
it
management
is,
is big in Street Fighter 6. Yeah, you're right. In
and
Drive
it's one
Impact it is a
bar.
big deal. But no, it's like I don't think I could go one round without at least somebody, on burnout. Like it,
And if you're playing the game right, what you should be
mhm,
doing is looking at what your opponent is utilizing and
mhm,
asking yourself, of my opponent's decisions, what
mhm.
am I seeing the most? What patterns am I seeing the most? And of those patterns, which ones are the most susceptible to drive impact? And
Yeah.
when I did that, I just drive impacted my opponent to death.
Mhm.
I won't name drop anyone, but good players I really respect,
Yeah.
who I played many sets with. I'd be like, this guy's playing really well, but he's doing this one thing that is very susceptible to drive impact. He's doing
Mhm.
it a lot. And then once I figured that out, I would just drive impact them to death. And
Yeah.
then they'd stop doing that thing. And then the neutral would kind of reset. And then I would try to find the next thing they would do that
Mhm.
I could drive impact. And then I'm like, okay, there we go. That's
Mhm.
the thing. That's the thing he loves doing. He likes doing standing fierce punch. Well, I got to drive impact for that. And that's
Mhm.
what I would do throughout the entire set. That is the organic evolution of the Street Fighter 5, I'm sorry, Street Fighter 6 set,
Mhm.
first to 10, right? Um, but no one was saying that. They were just downplaying drive impact. It was pissing me off, frankly. So
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is not true. It is a factor. It dictates the entire meta. And
Yeah.
yes, it goes away, but it goes away in body, not in spirit. And that's why I think I was going in so hard on the game, right?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
still kind of feel that way. I still feel like people are downplaying drive impact in a weird way, but I'm sorry, go on.
No, 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 no. I was wanting you to finish.
I mean, that covers it. Drive impact is
Yeah.
crazy. It's really powerful.
It is. I think it is really powerful. I think it does. I mean, I mean, at first I was like, I openly said that it needs a little bit of tweaks, but I like the system. I'm glad it's there. It's very let's see. I like how the parry system, it's very anti-zoner, and I like the way that it absorbs fireballs and actually like puts meter back on for you. And there's a lot of things that it does too. And there's ways to counter the drive impact as well. You can counter drive impact with more with your own. It's everything is, I think everything is going to revolve around drive impact. It's going to be a very powerful and big part of the game.
Well, what's hilarious about that is like you can watch a Street Fighter 6 match, and it's just sort of like the Justin Wong footsie waltz of each character like going back and forth and waiting to see what their opponent's going to do. And it's like, wow, this game is so footsie heavy. When in reality, it's just two people waiting for each other's drive impact. That's what's actually going on inside in the decision making process, right? So it's still it's the invisible drive impact. But all that said, and again, I'm focusing on the negative, but I really do like the game, and the reason I like it is because I have so many options, right? Even if my standing fierce punch gets shut down by drive impact, I have other stuff I can do, and once I condition the right situation, I can make my opponent respect that punch. I just have to eat a few drive impacts first, right? So the game is really good.
Yeah. No, it's very good. I think right out of the gate, it's going to be very good. I don't think there's going to be a need for like I don't think there's going to be a need for like a week 1 balance patch and everything. And the game as of late, especially, they got all the characters are incredibly diverse in the way that they play too. And I'm actually very curious to see how Manon and Zangief are going to play too. So once people get their hands on Manon and Zangief, it's going to be really cool to see how these grapplers play, especially with drive impact.
That's kind of what's so brilliant about drive impact, honestly, is because if one character is really strong, right? And one character is like bottom 2 in the beta, well, guess what? The really strong character still has to deal with drive impact. So there's no easy road in Street Fighter 6.
It messes with the meta so much, you know.
Yeah, if you're predictable, it really doesn't matter how strong your character is in Street Fighter 6, right? And that is unbelievably powerful. So I think that I don't want to give the illusion of balance. I actually do think the beta was relatively balanced.
It was,
but it's just it's almost like Capcom developed a game that balances itself, right? It just makes it where nothing can truly be abused without consequence. That's kind of the brilliant part of Street Fighter 6, which is the opposite of Street Fighter 5.
I was going to say the opposite of, most of them actually. I was going to say I don't want another Sean incident where it's like, you know, the third strike, it's like, God forbid if you play Sean, it's like you're going to lose because Sean is just that bad of a character, which is kind of a huge bummer because he's actually like pretty fun. I actually like Sean. He's pretty fun to play and I like his design. And I just like the idea of like Ken having a student. That was really cool. But, which I really hope he's a DLC character in Street Fighter 6 and be cool to have like a Ken grappler. But I can see that, you know, it's like it doesn't matter if your character is low tier, you're gonna have to utilize drive impact, and it changes, it allows you to break meta and use the mechanics of the game to your advantage.
And it's almost like the same philosophy as Third Strike, right? Where, you know, everyone kind of has to worry about the same sort of initial threats, right? Because Hugo is not terribly good in Third Strike. But if Hugo parries one of your specials, like you're going to be eating your breakfast through a straw tomorrow. Like that's how powerful his punishes are. So you really...
Such an ugly character. Gosh dang it. I was like, dude, who looks at Hugo and it's just like, yeah, that's the character I want to play. Like, sorry.
Yeah, I've been saying that for years, honestly. I like the character conceptually, but I don't like the way he looks. He looks like melted ice cream to me.
He does his face and his hair. It looks like it's falling off of him. You know?
Like he was left out in the sun way too long.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like him as a character though.
Yeah.
A lot of the Third Strike characters, like originally, if you asked me like who's your favorite Third Strike characters, and I'm like Q and 12, and I don't give a fuck really about any of them. And then Street Fighter 4 came out, and I really got to meet these characters for the first time. I got to meet Dudley, I got to meet Ibuki, and I'm like, okay, these characters are actually sick, except Makoto. She's kind of whack, but these other two are really sick.
I like Makoto.
No, I like Makoto too. Yeah, I do too.
I like Makoto.
It took 15 years, so
it took me 15 years to like Makoto, but now,
Yeah, it's been a long journey, right?
She has a really cool kit. I actually like that character a lot.
I just hate the costume. Like,
Do you like the gi?
she just, I mean, Ryu's got a gi, right? Like,
Yeah.
her gi has sleeves, but it's like, all right, cool. She randomly has her bra sticking out in Street Fighter 4. It doesn't look good to me.
Uh.
She's got like the Koopa Kid haircut. I don't know, man. Like, but now I think she's cool because I know the tool set and I know the legacy now. Urien was one of the first characters I really came around on because I thought Urien was stupid. And then I saw the excellent adventures of Gutex and Mike Ross. I heard that Urien was a Rose player. I'm sorry, Gutex was a Rose player. So I looked to him to get all my Rose tech. And he was one of the best Rose players in the world before Luffy came around. And then I found out he came from the Third Strike scene and he was a Urien player. And that just made me really forced me to sit down and reevaluate the idea that maybe I was wrong about Third Strike. And you know what? I was wrong about Third Strike.
Yeah.
Not the soundtrack, but the game for sure. Urien is a sick character.
Yeah.
And like that really came home with the Street Fighter V story mode when like I really like how they did Urien in that game.
I don't like Urien. I like him in Third Strike. I don't like him in Street Fighter 5 though.
I don't like his gameplay, but I do. I think the character is cool. The inferiority complex and always angry, just shouting at people for no reason. I love
it. yeah. So I really, I really like a Gil, in Street Fighter 5 too. Speaking of Urien, so
yeah, Gil is sick.
Gil's pretty cool, but it's kind of random, I know. But anyway, but yeah, so. The other point I wanted to bring up was like, we the very, very first podcast, we talked about Project L a little bit and how, a lot of people are thinking that Riot Games is going to have this major impact on the fighting game community and on competitive fighting games because they're bringing in all this, they haven't even said anything at all, but it's like if they did, Riot Games is known for funding their competitors and their tournaments and stuff like that. And I think like Street Fighter kind of beat them to the punch on that, on the big events and the big tournaments and everything. So I'm kind of curious to see how that pans out. And I think they're just going to meet them too. But I'm kind of curious. I really want to see what Tekken's going to, because is Harada just going to, because Harada is totally that kind of person who's just going to be like, I don't care what you guys do. I'm going to do what I want to do. And he's
$200 prize pool. Shut the hell up.
He, like his when he said like, watch the Game Awards for a Tekken trailer, and he's just like, I don't want to hear it. Shit, and it cuts to it. It's like, that is the most Harada commercial I've ever seen in my life. And and I can totally just be him, like, fine.
Tekken's in such a weird spot, man, because like that trailer was not well received. People were kind of like, that trailer wasn't very good. And I was surprised. I'm like, it's a story mode trailer.
Dude, it was a good trailer.
Characters.
Yeah, and then on top of that, after the trailer was revealed, he did like a 30-minute segment with, I think it was with IGN, and where he just explained explained mechanics and character concepts. And I was sitting there and I was just like, dude, okay, you did a trailer and a post-show explanation of the game. I was like, dude, what do you have to complain about? And then later on at Tekken World Tour, he gave a 35-minute video on the game, on the game and everything that's going on. I was like, dude, what do you have to, like, you can't complain about this. We have two games. We have Street Fighter 6 and Tekken that are giving full explanations. I've never seen a more open and honest development team in both Bandai Namco and Capcom, where they're actually saying like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what our plan is. This is what our philosophy is. This is how the game is going to be. This is what the characters are going to look like. We're going to give you everything that you guys want to see. And I'm like, what do you have to complain about? Like, they're giving us everything.
Paul, they're complaining about Paul. No, okay, that's not fair. Let me be nice to my friends here.
Paul is cool. I like Paul. I love the character's design, and Paul, I know people don't, but that's okay because I like him.
I mean, I have. Okay,
I want
so
Paul to have spiky hair because that's the reason why. That's the Paul I love, and that's the Paul I know, and that's the Paul I want to have. Even though in Tekken 4 he had he had a different hairstyle, but still I want the Paul from before where he gave that little like, you know, eye thing that he did. But
hashtag not my Paul. So I don't. Okay, I have no feelings on Paul because it's Paul.
Yeah,
I don't. And so okay, I want to be fair to my buddies here.
Okay.
So, like, I could understand the shock if you didn't know Paul was going to look like that. Law's face did look a little suspect. I'll give them that as well.
At first,
so we're seeing. Yeah. At least so back we're in December right now, right? I'll give them that. Some of the visuals did look a little weird, right? But then we had that showcase you were talking about. And then we found out that basically Tekken is adopting a lot of the least popular comeback mechanics at the moment. So that was kind of concerning. Then we found out that offense has been drastically buffed in Tekken 8. That was also concerning, right? So like King, who's already like a nightmare. If you've ever fought a high-level King, it's just like, dude,
it's
get your
terrible.
tissue box. Holy crap. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And he has armor now. Now King has armor. Like Lars is an anime character now. The game just looks very offensive. And one of the charms
aggressive,
of Tekken,
I'd say aggressive.
Yeah, aggressive for sure.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key phrase, aggressive. I can imagine Harada just watching, you know, professional Tekken 7 players and watching them move about, you know, playing all their footsies and everything like that. And he's like, freaking someone throw a punch, please. Someone throw a punch. And then he's just like, oh, that's it. Tekken 8, everybody's going to be aggressive.
I mean, something like that, I think, did happen. I think he didn't want to make another Tekken game that played like Tekken. And it's very apparent. So to really defend the negative stance of the people on the Discord who are not a big fan of it right now, Tekken 7 had two very big problems. One was the netcode. The other was the lack of instant rematch. And it sounds like both of those are going to be fixed. Namco got Akira, the guy who was fighting EX Slayer, to do the netcode for Tekken 8. So we have every reason to believe the netcode is going to be fantastic. And we're an instant rematch. There is a 0% chance they're not fixing instant rematch. Now that we know we're finally getting those two things solved, they're completely switching up the meta for Tekken. So all the people who love Tekken 7 and love that style, because you have to understand, Tekken has a monopoly on that style of gameplay. That very like execution heavy movement with like reactionary defense. That is a very Tekken thing. That's where the Tekken neutral kind of comes from. Not that other 3D games don't have that, but what makes Virtual Fighter and DOA different is they don't have a traditional Korean backdash. So your execution leads to good movement, which leads to good footsie options. That's not really a thing in Dead or Alive. Now, that we're finally getting good netcode and instant rematch, and it sounds like that's been compromised. Because if I try to just like do the Korean backdash waltz, King is going to run at me like an asshole and just do an armored move. So it's like, okay, well, we waited so long for this to be fixed, and now we're like, it's not going to be the same game anymore. So in that sense, I'm very sympathetic to these guys. However, that is not how I personally feel. I feel much more positive on Tekken 8 than everyone else because well, it's complicated. It would probably take too long for me to really explain my thoughts on Tekken 8, but I am very come what may with the game.
I couldn't be happier personally because
that's good.
I'm an aggressive player. I want to like Tekken 7, and I tried playing. I gave it a fair amount of time to, you know, kind of get into it, and there's a lot of characters I liked to play in the game. Aesthetically, it's an amazing game. Still, I think the graphics now till this day actually hold up pretty well. It has a great soundtrack. I could fall asleep to Infinite Azure.
That's probably my second favorite track in that game. Devil's Pit 2 being the first.
Yeah, and I like there's a couple of YouTubers that have like piano covers of that, and it's just relaxing to listen to. But I really like Tekken 7, and it has a huge diverse, character. So where it's like, if you want to play aggressive, you can. If you want to play defensive, you can. If you want to play a stance character, you can. There's all sorts of different characters in the game and stuff like that. And it's kind of cool to see. I actually like how in Tekken 8, how it's like, okay, we're all going to come together and be aggressive. Like that's the new meta. And especially with matches that are first to 3, for like per match, aggressive makes sense to me, so I just hope they buff the HP. Like, I hope the HP is a bit higher so that your aggression can be met with it's because he's designed it to be, it's like your aggression needs to be met with more aggression. So
well, if I get clipped by a random like rage art, then I hope the damage is at least low so I can keep playing after that. That's the thing. It looks like the game has fatal blows. That's really a bummer for, I think, universally for everyone. I'd have to watch the video again, but it looks like if you do things that are not your rage art, like if you do other heat stuff, at least I think you have forfeited your option to do a rage art if you're doing other heat options. But I'd have to watch it again. Honestly, I was at work when I saw that, and all that went right over my head. So I understand the gist of it. I understand
if you could sit down and actually like watch it, like so you're purely focused on it and you can really see it.
The game is actually very akin to Soul Calibur, and only it's much more exaggerated. But in Soul Calibur, every character had a unique trait that only that character had.
I like that.
Like Sunmina, like if she hits with the edge of the attack instead of the brunt of the attack, then she gets a completely different move property. And one leads to combos, the other does not. Soul Calibur 6 is my favorite fighting game of all time. I love that game.
Yeah.
And they're doing that, but they're doing it with like a meter now. So like now you have to spend bar to do your unique whatever thing. At least I believe so. I'd be surprised if King did not have to spend bar to use armor. That would be
so he's like he's already OP with his kit. He's already OP with his armor. Let's just, make it to where he doesn't have to spend any meter to do any of this stuff to make it even that much more overpowered. Okay.
I know someone who would love that. I know someone who'd be a very big fan of that. But it's right now it's finding that balance, right? To me, the reason why I am neutral on Tekken while everyone else seems to be leaning negative is because I have my character. And I have a feeling the roster is actually probably going to be decent. June? No, Lars.
Oh, okay.
Big Lars. He's not my favorite character, but my favorite character is probably never coming back. So actually, I think her chances are higher than ever.
Cool.
Because Heihachi's Angel.
Oh, okay.
And also that actually reminds me of another point. I really don't ask a lot of Tekken. I want Korean backdashing and I want electrics. And if I get that, I have pretty much met my quota. Oh yeah, and give me a relatively good roster. But yeah, dude, seeing Lars
keep Heihachi dead.
Yeah, well, I mean, if he is dead, they better put an Angel because I need a character who does electrics who isn't Kazuya. That would be super disappointing. And that sounds like Deviljin's out of the picture, so I can't use him anymore.
I think they've combined it. That was probably one of my favorite things about the trailer was to see Jin and gosh dang it.
Kazuya? Deviljin?
His dad.
Kazuya.
Yeah, Kazuya and Jin. But it looks like they've kind of did the whole like controlling the devil gene to where they can like, it almost looks like they can summon it based on a special. It like I thought it looked really cool because all of a sudden it's like, they're hitting and then they're doing their bread and butter combo, and then they do some kind of like they do a special to where you like, one wing pops out and one of his eyes turns red, and then he it's kind of a part of his kit.
I actually never saw the trailer. As a matter of fact, the only trailer I have seen since the breakdown on the Tekken World Tour is Lars.
Oh wow!
And the reason being is because I don't play the other characters, so I don't know their move properties. So I don't really know what I'm looking at. And I'm also not really a huge fan of those characters, with maybe the exception of King. Even though I would never play King, but I
Mhm.
played a lot against King. I have a lot of respect for that character.
Mhm.
But I didn't even watch his trailer. So like Lars was the first one I watched. I didn't see any of the Gen stuff. But if they are combining Devil Gen and regular Gen, that is a good thing because we need to free up that slot. I
Yeah.
don't gain a very big roster. I think we'll be lucky. We'll be unbelievably lucky if we get 25 characters, right?
Like starting roster or like
starting.
Oh yeah.
And we did not have that many for Tekken 7 in the arcade. At least I don't believe we did. Console we got up to 30 at least, but yeah, that's going to be really concerning, man. Like,
Whoa,
if the roster's small, that's really going to hurt this game.
I don't think it's going to hurt it. I think people are. It's kind of like with what I was talking about with the Street Fighter thing. It's like I think it's legacy. Like people are going to buy Tekken because it's Tekken. And it has such a dominance in both the Eastern countries and in the Middle Eastern countries too.
Well, I think you're still thinking in business mode, right? So you're thinking in terms of sales, right? I'm thinking,
yeah. Okay.
If the roster's bad, my friends are not going to play with me. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm thinking about the Discord right now.
Yeah.
Because remember, people are already down in the game. They're already like, this looks kind of whack, which I think is partially unfair. But here's where I think you're absolutely right. We do need to get 2 competitive players and have them get their hands on the game. I think they absolutely have a point on that.
Oh, like you need to get like Knee and
little Majin and Knee, or Anakin. Anyone, literally anyone. I'd say get Anakin there for sure because Jack's been revealed. Like and Anakin, little Majin, they live in the same country. We can get them both into Georgia, preferably Atlanta, and then they can play Tekken 8 as part of an exhibition, and we can actually see what the game looks like, right? That would be huge. Have that. Yeah,
I'm 100% going to be watching the Ares stream when he finally gets his hands on it. Oh man, that's going to be the funniest. That's going to be the funniest stream I've ever seen.
Gosh, man,
dude, to listen.
I'm watching the Resident Evil stream right now. I'm laughing my ass off. But go on.
Yeah, no, it's seriously, it's hilarious.
And he's so knowledgeable. I think people so easily forget how knowledgeable Aris is, right? And Harada was talking about Aris on one of his recent open bars, and he was saying that the crazy thing about Aris is he didn't start in Tekken. Like he's a Soul Calibur player. Sort of like he's a very good Tekken player. Like he's played well in the past, but he's more known for his commentary. But nonetheless, he's become one of the smartest voices on not just Tekken but on fighting games, right? And he loves Street Fighter 6. He actually was a big Street Fighter 6 guy.
He's the most online. He's one of the best he's one of the best commentators and most knowledgeable people who play fighting games who barely plays fighting games. Like if you ever go to any one of his streams or any one of his videos, he's playing everything but.
I mean, that's the joke though, right? It's like what's the chat saying? When are you going to play Tekken 7? No pants, ban that guy. Like that's the joke, right? So and the thing is he doesn't like online games. He hasn't had a change of heart on fighting games. He just hates playing online. And Third Strike is probably the most he can stomach when it comes to like online play. So he loves Third Strike online. Those are also really good streams. Gosh, I wish the Tekken buzz was more positive, but I'd be lying if I said these people didn't have good points. I wish everyone loved Lars as much as I do. That is not the timeline we live in. So, I want everyone to have their characters, though. I want everyone to have their favorite characters. That is like...
I mean, Nina looks super cool. I know a lot of people are like really stoked on Nina.
Not a lot of Nina players, to be honest with you.
Really?
And there's 2 reasons for that. Well, Nina is like Brian. I believe Paul might even be the same way, but she does not have a traditional she has a command or a command movement, which is her backsway. So if you do quarter circle back, she does a backsway movement, which is really unsafe if you do it at the wrong time.
Here's what I found from
Siri, seriously, gosh, Anyway, I deeply apologize about that. But because she has a backsway, Nina cannot do a traditional Korean backdash. Oh no, she can, but she can't use the shortcut.
Yeah.
Like Eris only uses the shortcut when he's on
Uh-huh.
the left side. He uses the traditional Korean backdash input on the right side.
Yeah.
So imagine doing a Korean backdash and you accidentally do something unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing like 100 Korean backdashes a round, right? Maybe not that many. Like maybe somewhere between 30 and 60 probably is more accurate. But yes, that's a really dangerous character to play at high level. And her kit isn't so good that it makes that risk worth it. Now, Brian has a backsway, and you have to do the hard version of the Korean backdash, but Brian is also super good. So you get that pays off basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe they'll fix that in Tekken 8.
Make an adjustment. There you go.
Know much about the Nina fans and how they'd feel about that, but she's a very hard character to play with very low payoff. So I mean, I'm with Eris. I think the guns are dumb. I'd like Nina because she does cool assassin stuff. You know, I don't need her to have like Uzis. I don't think that's I think it's kind of stupid, but whatever.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays. I remember Sonic Fox was really into Nina too when the first trailer came out, and Sonic was like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, when the trailer dropped, Sonic was like, somebody teach me how to play Nina in Tekken 7. So
he did play Tekken for a bit. He wasn't bad. So I don't know, man. Like do you have a character you're looking forward to in Tekken? Is there a character you want for Tekken?
Not anyone in particular. So far, I kind of like what I've seen. What was the one character I was playing for a minute? The Polish stance character.
Oh, Lydia.
I really hope that because she was brand new to Tekken 7, wasn't she? That was her first experience
from scratch.
I hope. I kind of hope that they bring Lydia into it because she was a lot of fun to play, and I don't play a lot of stance characters either. So, Jin looks really cool. So far, I actually really like the way Jin looks, and his kit looks really cool. Same thing with Brian. I really like the way Brian looks, and when I say looks, not only am I meaning aesthetically, just like the way they play. Really cool.
I can see that. Brian was on my shit list for guy without a shirt, so I didn't care for Brian for the longest time. After fighting him, I think I like him even less because I hate fighting that character. Yeah. But I get it though. I think gameplay wise, he's a brilliant character. Very interesting take on pressure and execution.
Yeah, I really like the way. I like Paul's design. I know that a lot of people don't, but I really like Paul's design. I like so far his kit looks really cool too. So, looking forward to that. Jack and King look absolutely broken, and I'm definitely not looking forward to fighting against them. So but they look cool.
I hope Jack is terrible in this game, so I never have to watch a Jack match ever again. I have watched so many Jack matches because of Anakin. I love Anakin to death, and he's a national treasure for the States. But man, am I tired of watching Jack sets.
Yeah.
Especially in grand finals, man. I'm like, gosh, I wish you got a new character. For me, it's more about who needs to be there. I think making Lei Wulong and Julia Chang DLC was super not cash money, right? Or maybe literally it was. But I really, really feel like those characters need to be base roster. And Lei Wulong is a tough call because he's got more moves than any character in Tekken history. So he's a very expensive character to make. And Yoshimitsu is going to be there, obviously, but no one plays that character, so that just is what it is.
Yeah, I think I said before. I think I really want Heihachi to sit out. In fact, I hope he's permanently gone.
Yeah, I agree. I like
know he's like
a lot, but I agree.
I know he's like he's the face of Tekken for years and stuff, but as far as story goes, it's like that. But Tekken and Street Fighter are the two games where people don't necessarily play for the story. I mean, they do. There is definitely the lore people out there and everything, but it's like, is when I think of like Tekken, I think of, I think of mechanics. That's what I think of.
I don't really know if there's like a lore community around Tekken.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, like Street Fighter, there a little bit, but not near as much as there is with Mortal Kombat and Guilty Gear.
Yeah, and even Guilty Gear, a lot of that is like there's not really Guilty Gear channels for lore like there is with Mortal Kombat. At least not that I'm aware. I could be wrong about that.
There's a lot.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I actually thought Tekken 7 story mode was okay. I get that the journalist was awful, and that's kind of why I like it. But I think people did kind of overreact. But I don't know. We're in such a limbo right now because there's no more reveals left for Street Fighter 5. It's gonna be a little bit before we get the next Tekken 7 character. Yeah. We still have June to be revealed. Then after June, we can start seeing like actual new characters for Tekken 8.
Yeah.
Grand Blue Fantasy Rising is still many months away. So it's like,
do you think that Tekken 8 is going to get do you think Tekken 8 is going to have a 2023 reveal or a release? Or do you think it's going to be 2024?
Yeah. Well, I think, I don't know who said on the Discord, but I think 2023 financial year, financial fiscal period is the perfect description. So I do not expect it later than March 2024. But I don't know, because when I said that originally, it's really hard to tell what's going on with Mortal Kombat, right?
I don't think anything is necessarily changing. I mean, like I understand like the multiverses and the Suicide Squad. It's like they had their thing with the live service with Suicide Squad and apparently Multiverses was an open beta. That is new. I was like, wait a second.
That's hilarious, by the way.
You were in open beta this entire time? Like, dude, no. I don't know what that was.
Imagine putting like $50 of content in that game, and one day you wake up and the game says BRB in 2024. That is quite an incident.
And I think it's a good move in the current state of where Multiverses is. It's like, okay, but it did feel like, actually, we were in open beta this entire time, and then you're like, really? I thought you guys were. That doesn't make any sense. But I didn't see that. But I think it's a good idea because as like 99% or some high number up there is like of the player base has dropped off. So I would think that they're going to be like, okay, we need to go back to the drawing board, and we know that this game has potential to be great. So we're gonna go into hiding for a minute, do some things that need to be done, and then we're going to release it next year. Oh, and by the way, all of your stuff carries over, and so I think it's a good move personally. I just thought the whole like, the open beta was great, and I'm like, that was open beta.
So this is fascinating, right? I try to be as charitable as I can to companies when things like this happen. But a dark part of me is so glad this happened, right? Because I've always been very skeptical that free to play was going to have negative repercussions on content. So I cannot think of a better way WB could have sabotaged the free to play model in the eyes of everyone. Because just imagine you wake up and your game just isn't there anymore. Like that's such a bad look for the free to play model. It's like, hey, you want your favorite game to be free to play? Okay. Do you want your favorite game to exist? Well, we'll see you in 2024. It's like, wow, that is such a horrible look for Warner Brothers, for the model, for the franchise. And people put money into this. They bought Velma costumes for this, right? Costumes they're not going to see again for 6 months. Longer than that.
You can still lab, like they still have lab open, but it's like, you can't play online. You can't play against other people. You can lab, and that's about it.
That's good news about the lab, but that makes it even funnier to me because it's like, look at all the stuff I can't use online now. It's man, gosh.
Yeah, why do you buy skins? What's the point of skins? The point of skins is, I mean, the at least in League of Legends, like the point of skins is to show other people. It's like to design your character and stuff. Yeah, to make your character look the way you want them to look and stuff. But a little bit, like, I think the other half is that is like, you want to show people what you got, you know? I think there's two sides to it.
Well, and in defense of the beta thing, this is not a real defense. I'm going to shoot the shit down in a second. But for now, in defense of the beta thing, it did say beta on the title screen, from what I understand. And I've never played the game, but it did say beta on the title screen.
Okay.
But I have two problems with that, right? Problem A, just because it says beta on the title screen does not communicate to the player base their game could not exist in a week. There's nothing in the word beta that says this should all go away for no reason. So, because some betas are playable until final release, but there's another part, like the second part of that, the B, is that it got Fighting Game of the Year. So they need to turn their award back.
It did.
You were running a beta. Your game was not out yet. I want you to give your award back to Jeff right now, because like you should not have even been eligible. Like,
what's amazing is that the two games, Fighting Game of the Year, the two games that were on that list that were nominated that were actually fighting games, lost like 90% of its player base. Like both DNF Duel and Multiverses. And DNF Duel, dude, that's a whole other topic of itself. It's like, dude, you are killing yourself right now. It's like when you announce that you're going to get Spectre and you're going to get, a season pass with like 4 other characters as well. It's like, okay, that's good. This is a good thing. I'm looking forward to playing Spectre, and I'm looking forward to the other characters that you're going to announce, but you better release that and release it soon. Because if you're really going to wait till after Street Fighter 6 has been released and in the midst of Tekken 8 and Mortal Kombat 12 and Grand Blue's expansion, it's like throw yourself into a volcano right now, because you're not going to last. It's not going to.
I saw the season plan and it said summer for Spectre. I could not believe what I was reading.
Spring. It said spring. I'm pretty sure it said spring. It did. Wow. It did say spring, but it also said like other characters, like 2 other characters in summer and 2 other characters in winter. And I was like, what? Like, really? I mean, I don't know how the game is doing in Japan and Korea, but I mean, I know that Goichi is really big in a DNF Duel, and he's doing great things in Japan. I wonder if the game is doing well in Japan, because I don't know. I just know that in the West, it's not doing good at all.
Well, I double checked, man. It definitely says summer, dude.
It does. Okay.
Good. Yeah, I posted on the chat, and you know what? I would really like to know why they needed like 6 to 7 months to make Spectre. Like, I don't. Is there a Spectre single player mode? Like, what the hell? I don't understand what took so long with this character.
Yeah. Did anybody ever play? Did anyone play single player mode?
No, I don't think so.
No,
I know I didn't.
don't think.
I'm not going to.
I'm not. I could care less about the single player mode.
Bought the game twice. I've not played single player. Yeah.
It was a great game, and I still to this day think that game is super fun. It's a great game. It just it doesn't have the legacy, so it's like when they came out swinging, but they didn't keep trying, which is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on internally with it and stuff. But as far as like the West goes, it's like we're really fickle, and we're really like pushy. Like the moment you release a game, if you don't have a plan for your DLC, and if you don't have a plan for, what's to come, it's like you're going to lose everybody's attention. I
wonder if like a Korean company working with a Japanese company trying to coordinate with like a Western release is, I think maybe it's just the worst game of telephone. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, no, I understand. But anyway, back to Street Fighter 6. How do you feel with the longevity of the game? And one more thing I want to point out too is that based on the free to play, we're talking about multiverses, and this kind of popped up was, I brought up Project L earlier, and I think I've said it before that my mind has kind of been changed a little bit on Project L. A lot actually was I initially was like, oh, Project L, I think it's going to have a 2023 release, at least a 2024 release. Now I'm like, dude, I think it's going to have a 2025 release. I think they announced things way, way too soon. And they're just, it's kind of weird. Like, I don't know what their philosophy in their campaign is, like building themselves up this early for a game that we don't even have they don't even have a name for the game yet. I mean, it's still under the guise of Project L. It's not even it doesn't even have an official name. So that's going to be free to play. And we saw how Multiverses came out. I mean, do you think that it's going to have I think it's going to be successful for sure. But do you think it's going to be on par with like Street Fighter 6 and Tekken?
I think the timing is going to be a factor, but no, I think it took too long. Like I think I want to say they revealed the game in 2019, right?
Something like that. They announced that that they are working on a game in 2019, 2020. And then like there was an initial like teaser in like 2021.
I think,
or something like, I don't know the exact dates. I totally forgot.
in the time since they announced it, NetherRealm released and then announced a new game, all in the course of just the lifespan of the knowledge of this game. So it's like they're releasing the game in a landscape no one knows anything about, right? So
what do you
I
mean?
think, like in 2023, I don't think anyone expected this collision of franchises. In the aftermath of this train, I don't mean train wreck in a bad way. I mean train wreck in the sense of like chaos, like Mortal Kombat, Tekken 7, Tekken 8, Street Fighter 6.
Oh, I would call it like a perfect storm.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely chaos, right? So 2024 is just going to be like everyone's going to be on fire, just trying to learn these games and match these games, looking at the new patches.
I'm praying for like this switch, like everybody's playing COD and Fortnite and everything. I'm just praying for this all of a sudden it's going to be what was like this hype over COD and Fortnite is now this hype over Tekken and Street Fighter. Like that'd be so cool to have that, like that gaming culture switch, you know?
I think what Capcom has realized is we don't need players, we need viewers right now. And I think whether that's correct or not is hard to tell, because I've always believed if you don't have a sophisticated understanding of how a fighting game plays, you're not going to be able to watch it properly, right? The first time I was on your podcast, we talked about why was Evo Tekken 7 Top 8 so fun to watch? And I thought about it after that podcast, and I was like, well, maybe it was fun to watch, but none of the people who watched it came back. They all moved on. They didn't keep watching Tekken. They didn't watch future Top 8.
They watched Evo. They watched Evo because they watched Evo. They watched Evo. They watched Tekken 7 because it was Evo. They didn't watch You know, the same people who were watching Evo are now watching Tekken World Tour.
Exactly, and that tells me that, like, you know, the fish are eating the shrimp, but they're not biting the hook, right? Taking the bait, and they're swimming away. So, how do we keep them coming back? And I think Capcom's trying to solve that problem. It's like, well, maybe you don't know how to do cancels in Street Fighter, but you know what? We got the two best Street Fighter players in the world playing for $1 million. So you're going to get what I like to call the Vegas arena crowd, right? Of just people who are there for the big event. They're not necessarily giant nerds like you and me.
And this was exactly what the point I was making in the very first video, when I the very first video I ever made on YouTube was Project L is going to change everything. And I still think it's going to bring change, but I think Street Fighter 6 has beat it to the punch in that I always thought that competitive fighting games were going to would really benefit from a large event with huge funding, with building a market to where it's like, or building a an advertisement to where it's just like, oh, IDOM versus Punk, is going to be in the grand finals. They used to be best friends and now they're fighting for $1 million grand prize. Like, that's going to bring in tons and tons of viewers. That's the way MMA and boxing works. And I think that, making that, like, you don't even have to be like, you don't have to know who Mena RD is. You have to know that Mena RD is playing for $1 million. And that's going to bring in the viewers. That's going to bring in the people and everything. And then you're going to have a lot of 16-year-olds and 18-year-olds who are going to be like, oh, fighting games is where it's at. That's the way. That's the way I'm going to make I want to be a professional gamer. Because a lot of people do that now. They're just like, I want to be a pro and everything. And this is the way to do it. You could make $1 million playing Street Fighter, and then people are going to be like, I'm going to play Street Fighter. So,
well, I think that kind of begs the question. If there's $1 million, like, never mind the casual, are the anime Guilty Gear players going to pick up Street Fighter 6 because of that, right?
Probably.
So is like Kizzy K going to be like, I can win $1 million? I don't think they will, to be honest with you. I think I want to say that, like, people like Giuna, although Giuna doesn't really compete anyway, but people like him are going to have the wisdom to know that if I train my ass off to play Street Fighter 6, I'm just going to get beat by IDOM. Like, I think they know that deep down, right? Just like IDOM probably could not successfully break into, Stride maybe he could, but not Xrd. No, like, he would be choked out by the Japanese players instantly. So I don't know, man.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's a huge. The $2 million, I think, is more than just like, oh, we're trying to find, like, finally fighting games are creating large pools and really looking after the competitors. I think it's also a huge marketing tactic.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's more so that than anything, honestly.
No, it totally is.
They're not pulling in the virtual fighter players or the Tekken players.
Yeah, although, I remember Sonic Fox tweeted, like, after the $2 million, even Sonic Fox was like, "Hi, I'm Sonic Fox and I'm a Street Fighter 6 pro." Like, because
now that one's interesting. That one is very interesting because he could do it. Sonic Fox could definitely pull off that victory. There's no reason Sonic Fox cannot win Capcom Cup. So I'd like to see Japan and and see, like, all the American players just start sweating once Sonic walks up to that stage, right? Because, I mean, one of the best players in the world, no doubt. I think Street Fighter could use that kind of competition. So I think even though it's not going to convert the Guilty Gear players, I think that $2 million is going to bring a lot of people back from the dead.
I think Sonic could, but I think he will be challenged not in the way that he did with Mortal Kombat. In Mortal Kombat and Injustice, he just ran trains through everybody. But the thing that Sonic has a trouble with is staying focused on a game that he may or may not like. So, like, for instance, he was hyper focused on they were hyper focused on Skullgirls. Now, Skullgirls isn't near as popular as other games are, but that's the game they wanted to play, and you can see that they fell out of wanting to play the games that could make them a lot of money. You know what I mean? So I think Sonic will probably have a hard time now. This is just my observation. This could totally be the opposite of what's going through Sonic's head. I don't know, but I've seen it that Sonic only plays what Sonic wants to play.
Yeah, that's true, and I don't think that will change. I think he's still sitting on a lot of money. Yeah, Sonic Fox won so much stuff, man. But I would like to see, like, the cool thing about Sonic playing Dragon Ball FighterZ is all the Japanese players were like, crap, this is hard. This is so difficult. No one told us about this.
Yeah.
We were told this guy played Mortal Kombat, and then suddenly just they're all falling over dead. I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
So,
And then Goichi came out, and that was a great fight, by the way. Goichi versus Sonic. So, but yeah, I mean, I think Sonic won Evo with Dragon Ball Fighters, but Goichi won. I forgot what tournament that was, where I think it was also Evo.
Yeah, I think it was the follow-up Evo. Yeah, I think it was the run back.
Mm-hmm. And it was the one where he broke down crying after he won. And it was a really touching scene to see that happen. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I think I would like to see Sonic compete in Street Fighter 6, but I think he's going to be I think Street Fighter 6 is where Sonic is actually going to have competitively a harder time than he did in Mortal Kombat.
I don't know.
I don't think he's going to run a train.
Player. What's up?
I don't think he's going to run a train, through the Street Fighter 6 competition the way he was in NRS games.
But Sonic is so psychologically perceptive that, like, when you watch Sonic play, you can tell he knows what the other player wants to do, and that is sort of like his secret sauce, right? So, like, to watch Sonic just like live in someone's head. That's like Street Fighter 6 in a nutshell. Street Fighter 6 reads the game. It's unpredictability, the game. And that is just so built for Sonic, in my opinion. Give Sonic Fox drive impact. Oh my gosh, man, it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. Especially with his reaction time. So
now what's heartbreaking about that is, yeah, go on.
No, go ahead.
Well, at the same time, I don't want to see Sonic Fox destroy all my favorite players.
Yeah. I don't want to. It's like I don't want to say that because I don't want to sound mean, And it's really cool to see like Mena RD, Idom, Punk, Samurai, like Vega Patch. Like there's a lot of really really good players out there that I know he's like even older. I still like watching Daigo play, and Just a Kid is killing it too, and Kawano, the Angry Bird, and Big Bird. Like there's a lot of really great players, and it would kind of be heartbreaking to me I don't want to sound mean, because it's like I want people to be successful. If Sonic Fox took Street Fighter 6 seriously and was like really successful in it, I would be absolutely thrilled. But at the same time, I would hate for him to come in and just make the rest of these players, irrelevant.
I would like to see the Punk tweets afterwards, but you're right. And Punk and Sonic Fox know each other very well.
They played beta. I watched them play the beta against each other, and Sonic did really well.
And Punk was a MVCI player along with Sonic Fox, and Sonic Fox dominated Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite as well. Yeah. And Sonic destroyed Punk very consistently in that game. So they've been in the same room a lot. So to have them on the SF6 stage, that could be interesting. But here's the thing, like Japan does their homework. So like they're going to go fox hunting, make no mistake. They're going to learn this. Sonic Fox probably will still win. It's going to be fascinating though, right?
When Sonic is focused on a game, he is absolutely dominant. When he wants to play the game, and money, you can tell like money is not really, a big factor for him as much as enjoyment of the game. Because if money was a big factor for him, he would be playing Street Fighter 5 and Tekken 7, but he would rather focus on Skullgirls. So for him, it's fun. And I also I personally, like I said, I don't know what's going on inside Sonic's head, but I can imagine he has bigger aspirations than fighting games as well.
Yeah, I think Sonic's already on those as well. I think Sonic has enough money where he doesn't have to wait to pursue those. I mean, so like that is maybe the craziest part of all, right? Like he doesn't even need to get first place. If he gets fourth place, it's like, I'll see you guys next year, and he's banking. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think he's going to take like 5th or 6th with a smile on their face. Like, yeah, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be really. This next year is going to be interesting. It's going to be really, really, really interesting. I mean, Street Fighter 6, I think is going to kill it. I think the numbers are going to be higher than we've ever seen globally, and I think personally, I think a lot of fighting game devs are going to probably have to follow suit with this to become like the new standard as far as like winnings go. They're realizing that esports is the way to bring in bigger crowds, you know, bigger viewers. And you're right, Street Fighter 6 is looking at, or I'm sorry, Capcom is looking at the idea of views. Views is this is how we sell the game, get views. You know, that's kind of like just the new way of doing it. But they're all their philosophy behind it is the developers. I remember them openly saying like, we want to bring back the fun element that players had back in the arcades of Street Fighter 2, and you can see that. And I gotta tip my hat to Bandai Namco and Capcom, because the West, I personally don't like the way they do business as far as their gaming goes, and the Japanese are just killing it, dude. And not just their fighting games and their RPGs as well. And they're just like, they kind of have this philosophy like, we're going to do things the Japanese way, and the Japanese way works really, really well.
You know, Yahtzee recently had a video about that.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about how it was dumb for everyone in the West to create a live service video game when it was very clear that there just isn't enough players to support more than like 3 or 4 live services, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now,
what game was he referring to? Multiverses or what?
Maybe, I don't think so though. I think he was talking more like MMO type games.
Okay.
And he says now we're seeing all these live services just die, just shutting their doors.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, who could have predicted that? Oh, that's right, everyone.
Yeah.
I just you know, though the West is putting all their faith in the current thing that is working, not realizing that will cannibalize itself so well, so easily. So yeah, Japan doesn't really have to worry about that because, like, honestly, mobile gaming is kind of the paradigm shift at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just they're competing in a much smaller bubble, which is fighting games. It's $59.99 fighting games. It's not a live service. It's not a mobile game. It's just it's Chun-Li and current gen graphics, right? And I think that was a good strat. I'm so glad they went that route.
Yeah, and I mean, Street Fighter 5 was great because, like, if he did want to pay real money to buy the characters and buy the costumes, he totally can. But there's also ways to, you know, earn in-game currency to buy whatever you wanted. Yeah, it took a long time to get, I'll admit, but it felt very respectful of your time and money. And same, it's like Street Fighter 6. It feels like they're actually like respecting the consumer, and and I'm glad that they did things, you know, the way that they're doing them.
I think the final step is just to be, now granted there's a leak, so it's not that big of a deal, but if there wasn't a leak, they really ought to be transparent about who is in their season pass before they sell it to them.
I think that leak was planned. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I think there's good evidence it was planned for sure.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I 100% could be wrong. In the previous podcast with Cyborg, we talked about leaks, and leaks. I think there's good leaks and bad leaks, and I think the Street Fighter 6 leak was actually a good leak that was possibly planted and planned, but I could be wrong. 100% could be wrong, but I think it was a good leak because it built a hype around it, and people are like, oh, I can't wait to see Zangief. I can't wait to see who's AKI, like, you know, who's this character and who's Manon, you know, who's Marissa. Like, these characters look crazy, and then when you finally saw them, you're like, oh, it built a hype around it, you know. So that's one thing. But then there's, you know, bad leaks. You know, bad leaks is when something was never meant to get out, you know, like seeing
Bald Frost is what comes to mind for me.
Yeah, Bald Frost, or even like the Mortal Kombat 12 file on a dev's computer that was taking a picture. Yeah, like that's a bad leak, you know, like,
Yeah.
and that's when we were kind of just like, and I've learned a lot. I've learned my lesson with leaks and realized like how just completely silly it is to actually like, you know, pay attention to them, because the Street Fighter 6 leak, that was like obvious that this is actually it. This is real, you know, and it was very apparent. It was very in your face. But the other ones, when we're talking about like, you know, like fake leaks, it's like, who in their right mind, ethically in their right mind, is just like, I'm going to create a rumor, you know, it's, you know, we started like that Brad Pitt and the Friends episode where it's like, we started a rumor, but you know.
So what I think happened, this is a theory. I don't know this for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to say happened is they did the leak on purpose, and they hadn't determined who was DLC yet, right? Or no, I'm sorry, they had not determined who was base roster.
Yeah.
And when the leak came out, they farmed the data,
Mm-hmm.
and when September came out, they said this is your final roster. And I have a feeling that the leak we got was not actually a leak. It was a list of potential characters. I think the only characters on that list who were for sure were the new characters and the World Warriors. And everyone else was up for grabs, right? So I have a feeling, I could be wrong, but my theory is that when September hit, they finalized the roster like that day. And the reason they had to show a drop Lily is because she hadn't even worked on yet. That's my theory. Or she had been worked on, but she wasn't roster ready. So I think they were juggling, like, because people were saying if you were actually in the Capcom offices in 2017, they had a version of Rose and Sagat. That was a working version of those characters.
Yeah.
So I think they used that leak to determine the final roster. And
that's an interesting take on it. I mean,
I'm praying it's true because I hate the DLC so badly. So I'm hoping. I'm really hoping.
I don't know. AKI looks really cool.
Well,
I agree. Fang was such an ugly looking character. Gosh dang it, dude. Who thought of that? Like, gosh, Fang was such an ugly character.
For sure. She does look like a character from Doug, but she does look cool. I'll give her that.
From like the Nickelodeon show Doug.
She reminds me of Doug's sister, like, a lot. That's fine. Like, Hockey is not the big offender on that list. To me, Ed is public enemy number one right now. Okay. I have never hated Ed more than when I saw that leaked DLC.
There was three. I remember that. There's Ed, AKI, Ed, and Hockey.
There's one more. Rashid.
Yeah. We haven't seen Rashid.
Rashid's a good choice, actually. I actually like Rashid a lot. Yeah. I think he should have been base roster just because, I mean, every time I come on your show, I complain about the roster. I told myself before we started, I'm not going to complain about the roster. But Rashid, since there was no Street Fighter 5 representation on Street Fighter 6's roster, Rashid should have been base, in my opinion. That way you had Jury from 4, Rashid from 5. Life is good. But yeah, there's no point.
Yeah,
like going down that rabbit hole again.
Yeah. So I do want to ask you. We have the roster. We have like is it 3 or 4 DLC characters?
4.
4. Okay, we have the 4 DLC characters. Now, Street Fighter, I asked a Capcom content creator about this, about DLC characters. And it's kind of weird. I understand that we're talking about DLC and the game hasn't even been released yet, but it's fun to talk about. Street Fighter 4 had like the most massive roster I've ever seen in a fighting game, and Ultra Street Fighter 4, and they have no problem just bringing in characters, and regardless of story. With Mortal Kombat, it's like we're going to bring in a character or make a character DLC because they were in the story. You know, there's kind of a context to why they're DLC, other than guest characters. But with Street Fighter, they're just like, we're going to add this character in because we want to, and because they're highly requested, and they look cool. Like, Street Fighter doesn't mind just bringing in those characters. So if you had to choose, give me like 3 or 5 characters specifically that you would love to see be DLC in Street Fighter 6?
So that's actually fairly easy, right?
Okay.
My favorite Street Fighter character of all time is Yang.
Mm-hmm.
Rose was the character who I cut my teeth on competitively.
Mm-hmm.
I played Marvel 1 competitively, but I didn't know what I was doing back then.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of an idiot. Also, there was not really an internet yet, not a viable internet. So if you want to learn how to play, I didn't even know enough to know that I was playing the game wrong. There's Street Fighter 4 came around. There's SNK. There's event hubs. There's all sorts of like competitive videos, so I can see what high level play actually looks like on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So Rose is who I cut my teeth on, and she's not on my list, by the way. But it's
she's not.
No, she's not.
Okay.
She's not my favorite character, and Yang is my favorite character.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like Rose after Street Fighter V Rose, that left such a bad taste in my mouth. I hope we never see the character ever again.
Oh.
Like I was just so bummed.
I like Rose
by what they did. Well, I do too, but Rose is dead. Like she's like the version I learned in Street Fighter 4. Capcom made it abundantly clear that we're not going to see that style again. They turned it into a zoner, and like honestly, I'm just getting depressed even talking about it.
Yeah.
But if we're going by lore and design, Yang is my actual favorite character. I just didn't really know enough about Street Fighter's meta to really utilize the character right, so I never used him competitively, which was a mistake. I could have started early, really learning like dive kick spacings, and I slacked off on that. That was unfortunate. But Yang is my number one choice by far.
Okay.
Number two is no surprise. It's Ibuki. I love the Book. I made her in Third Strike. I made her for a bit in Street Fighter 5, but then I tried soccer and I was just kind of blown away by how much of a good fit she was for my style. But I think Ibuki is so awesome. She looks cool. She's a ninja. She has fantastic mobility. She's barely even a Street Fighter character, but she can do everything. You can play traditional Street Fighter footsies with Ibuki, or you can jump around like an idiot. I love that. And she's just really cool, and she is bar none the most popular character from Third Strike that is not a classic character. So, yeah, Ibuki.
So we got Yang, Ibuki. Not Rose.
Not Rose.
Not Rose. So okay.
I'm still recovering from that Street Fighter 5.
What about the twins? Do you like the twins?
Well, Yang is a twin. He's one of the twins.
Oh, Yoon and Yang. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yoon's not on my list, but I'd like to see Yoon. I think Yoon is tight.
But the thing about Yang and Yoon is Jamie is in Street Fighter 6. Do you think there's room for similar characters to exist?
For some of the combat kids, yes. For others, no. I think Yoon has it a little easier because Jamie is a drunken boxer, right?
Right.
But Lily leans very heavily into T-Hawk's tool set.
You could not bring in T-Hawk. Like T-Hawk can't exist if Lily exists.
Is popular. I think they're different enough. And you can also, I mean, they reinvented Rose completely for no reason. So there's no reason they can't reinvent T-Hawk. Minot also ripped off a lot of Rose's kit. And Rose still made it into the game, although that's kind of a fluke. So, no, I think T-Hawk could be in if he was popular. But because he's not popular, I think Lily exists because T-Hawk is not popular.
Yeah.
However, the twins are massively.
They are.
Insanely popular.
They're very popular. Yeah. I know Yoon is Yoon is probably the most overpowered character in Third Strike, for sure.
Yeah, he's probably the best in Third Strike. He's debatably the best in Street Fighter 4. He's very good. Evil Ryu, Elena, and Yoon were all devils in that game.
Oh, Elena.
What was your question?
No, it's like, I was just saying, like, Elena, like, oh my god, like she was just, yeah. And
yeah, she's not on my list. I like Elena. I think Elena's cool.
Now I could be just speculating. I am just speculating here, but it's with the mobile game with Street Fighter Duel. It's like a lot of these characters are in it, and I kind of think they're almost like building up. Like it kind of feels like they're building up some sort of hype around some of these old characters that they would like to bring back into Street Fighter 6.
Well, I think So if anyone cared about Street Fighter's story, what I would actually do is I would canonically make like Yoon the strongest character in the series.
Mm-hmm.
And have it be like a twist. Like I
Mm-hmm.
always said in my head, if I was writing a screenplay for Street Fighter 3 Third Strike,
Mm-hmm.
I would have one of the reveals be that Yoon is actually the strongest of the cast.
Mm-hmm.
And no one knows that, not even the audience, until Gil calls him out on it. And that feeds into why Yang, because do you know much about Yang in terms of his personality and lore?
Isn't he like kind of the more serious of the twins?
Yes,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
And
Yoon is like of the twins. Yoon is like the happy-go-lucky kind of like carefree twin, and then Yang is kind of like the more serious. Like,
so
yeah.
I'm at the Nissan dealership, sitting, waiting for my oil change. And I'm thinking, how would I adapt a Third Strike film? And what I would do is my explanation for Yang is the reason why he's so serious all the time is because he knows how powerful Yoon is, and he's trying to constantly catch up. So he's this,
like a Vegeta Goku relationship.
100%. So Yoon just thinks he has a bug up his ass, but secretly Yang is like, I need to be the pinnacle of discipline, or I will never catch up to. Because if you've ever met twins, they're so competitive, dude. They always feel like they're in a contest of comparison.
Oh, like
right?
like real life twins.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why Yang is just so like, reserved and disciplined and sharp, because he knows he has to be, because his brother, who's kind of a clown, is just a natural. So yeah, I don't know how I got into all of that, but I really like Yang, right? Yang is one of my favorite characters. He's so sick. I wish I could play him, and I will one day, but Third Strike is still very new to me. So I had to pick a character who was practical, and I already understand Ibuki in terms of meta.
But you played you played tons of Yang in Street Fighter 4, didn't you?
None.
Oh,
Almost
really?
none.
Okay.
I labbed him for like an hour, and I took him into like survival, and that's it. But you have to understand that I was a Rose player back then, and this was 2013. So in perspective, I didn't know how to break down characters the way I know how to break down. This was literally 10 years ago. I just didn't know what I know now.
Yeah.
Now I can play pretty much any fighting game, go into training mode, and have a competent character in less than an hour. I couldn't do that back then.
Yeah, and training modes nowadays help it. Like I can take a character that I want to learn and go into trials and have kind of an idea of how these characters play. After like an hour of playing.
Yeah. Learning how to learn is the hardest part of fighting games, and it took me a good while. But MK9 helped so much, because MK9 really taught me how to learn multiple characters and how to develop an approach to make this process as fast as possible. And I think really it started with Nightwolf. Cage is kind of what gave me the confidence, but learning Nightwolf is really what kind of convinced me that there's nothing I can't learn. He's not even that hard of a character in retrospect, but you really have to understand MK9 to play Nightwolf.
Yeah.
So my third character.
So we got Yang and Ibuki.
So my third character. So we have Yang, Ibuki. The third character would be Armika. Just because I think that character is super fun.
She's very Street Fighter.
Very Street Fighter. I think she would look really cool in the Street Fighter 6 engine. I think she'd sell a lot of costumes, but grinding people in the corner is so fun. And with Street Fighter 6's corner game, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
But also you have DI, so Mika isn't going to quite have that mix anymore, right?
Dude, Mika is she's so fun to play, to watch, and everything. Her personality is so cool. I would
She's hilarious.
I would hang out with that character, to be honest. Dude, she's especially after she wins and she runs around in a circle, she's like, yeah. She just seems like a super cool person, so
her V-skill, she puts a promo on you. She's very fun.
Yeah, exactly. No, she's such a fun character. So anyway, okay, so Armika.
So my fourth choice is probably the most controversial one on my list. It's Hakan. And I get why people don't like Hakan, but I love Hakan. I love his blue hair. I love the mechanic of the oil.
I just don't think people know a lot about. He's just not a character that's in people's mind to think
he's also to say polarizing is also like being nice. A lot of people really don't like Hakan. They think it's stupid as hell.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying just like on the bait, like so like everyone knows who the World Warriors are. Everyone knows who Cammy is, and now Jury is starting to become that character as well. Not a lot of people know who Hakan is.
The irony is that Jury and Hakan came out at the exact same time. They were the bonus characters for Super Street Fighter 4.
True.
And Jury, people didn't even have time to get hyped because they revealed her almost instantly when they announced the game. Everyone's like, we're finally going to add a Middle Eastern character. And they did the "It's Time to Oil Up" teaser, and everyone was really excited. And then they saw the character, and they were like, "Oh, all right. Why is he red? Why does he have domes on his head?"
Yeah.
I love the character though. I think it's super fun. I think he's funny. I think he's cool.
He's not a big character at all in Street Fighter Duel, but he's like one of the most commonly rolled characters. Like he's cannon fodder. So
yeah, I know that you can always tell, and I don't blame Capcom for taking that approach, but yeah, that's
it's a cool concept, and it's definitely he's definitely a character that Capcom is like, we'll roll the dice, we'll see how it works, and yeah, but I mean, of course, people are gonna take the the sexy psychopathic kickboxer or taekwondo master who is Jury. So,
and to be fair, I like Jury even more than Hakan, right?
Yeah.
If Jury was not in the game, Jury would be on my list instead. I think Jury's super cool.
I like Jury.
I think I liked her better in Street Fighter 5, honestly. I don't really like. It's not that I dislike what they did with Jury in Street Fighter 6. It's just that a lot of my favorite things about that character are not in Street Fighter 6.
So I feel like her kit's almost exactly the same, except you don't have to the Feng Shui engine. Like you don't have to store. It's like you can do it whenever you want. Just the storing makes it it makes it more powerful, but also makes it to where you can chain him.
Well, the V skill's gone. That was a big thing for me. So charging the V skill and be able to get in whenever I want on reaction was really nice. That was a big part of my Jury meta. Also, the whole idea of I know like people hate this and it was probably the wrong move, but I love the idea that I can do a bread and butter with Jury and it's still my turn and you're in a throw pressure mix up. That was awesome in Street Fighter 4. I'm sorry, Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
But finally,
I watched Jessica do that a lot.
And we're probably going to see it a little bit more as long as Street Fighter 5 is around. That's not going away because it's so powerful, right? But finally, even though she still has the Rekka pressure with her stock specials, DI does shut a lot of that down. So she can't get away with a lot of the strategies she utilized, even if they're technically in Street Fighter 6, are just not viable anymore. So yeah, also there's not really a reason to do them because with Jury, you can do like standing like fears and footsies, and then if you successfully connect that, just cancel that into V Rush. I'm sorry, Drive Rush, man. Street Fighter 5
V Rush.
Cancel that Drive Rush. I like that.
Yeah,
and you have pretty good damage with a broken. I guess a broken neutral rush with her distance on that. So yeah, Jury's cool. I think more than anything though, I just don't like the costume. They just copy and paste their Street Fighter 4 look, and I've never been a fan of that look. So
wait,
I thought it was a lot better.
Street Fighter. Sorry, you didn't like which look?
The Street Fighter 4 primary. They gave her black sleeves in Street Fighter 5 for that primary. It looked a lot better in my opinion. Yeah, I just think it was kind of.
I don't know. I kind of liked it. I thought it was kind of cool. I thought the Street Fighter 5 primary was a little weird.
Really, I like that one a lot. The biker outfit, I thought that was good. Well, that's fair. I mean, the Street Fighter 4 look is very popular. I'm the minority here. But,
I like.
But anyway,
I like the cropped the crop shirt with the really, really baggy, like, Taekwondo pants, the gi pants. You know, I thought that look was really cool. I'm glad they kind of did a little, they did a little, like, they took influence of that for Street Fighter 6. I think that's a really good look, and it fits her very, very well. It's but with the leather and the latex in Street Fighter 5, I just thought it was kind of weird. But I mean,
but I think
I
even
digress.
that primary, well, even in Street Fighter 5, that primary is in the game, and it looks better in my opinion. They undid the Street Fighter 5 changes. And to be fair, like if you like the Street Fighter 4 one, you can hold up and press 3 punches and 1 kick, and you get that Street Fighter 4 costume back. So it's not like it was gone. But I think the sleeves look so much better on the character. I would have preferred to have that. But yeah, Hakan is my fourth choice.
Enough about Jury. Hakan. Yeah.
Man, there's more Jury talk coming. Jury's not going away anytime soon, right?
No, she's a I guess a Street Fighter household name at this point.
Well, speaking of household names, my fifth choice is not really surprising to anybody who has played me in Street Fighter. Although I don't think she can come back because of the Soul Calibur 5 problem. But again, these are characters. This is my dream list. This is not who I think should come back. Like Sean is not on my dream list, but I think Sean should be back, right? My fifth choice is Sakura.
Oh yeah.
But you can't make Sakura school. I got all like Yiddish for a second there. You can't make her a school goyle anymore. And I think Capcom was like, well, that tank's out of gas, and I think that's the real reason why she's not base roster is because like she doesn't fit that archetype anymore, and that is such a Japanese thing to do. It's like in Soul Calibur 5, it's like we can't put Taki in a Soul Calibur 5 game in the future. No, she's old now, and they replaced her with some stupid Naruto-esque character. So I think that's what happened to Sakura, which is really unfortunate. I wasn't even like a big Sakura fan until I played her in Street Fighter 5. I'm like, wow, this character.
She's super fun in Street Fighter 5, and I'm impressed with your Sakura. She's you play her really well. So, but she's fun. She's a lot of fun to play.
I appreciate that because Sakura does all the things I want to do in fighting games. Remember how I said earlier that I like to play the mid range? Well, Sakura has an extremely good, like 12 frame standing roundhouse that hits mid and that hits right inside of jump distance, and that crush counters that could lead to a full combo, both meterless and metered, and it converts into super if needed. That's all in her standing roundhouse. That is just her standing roundhouse. It's not even going over her safe specials or her plus frame EX moves. Or the fact that you can cancel special into special in the corner. Like, oh my gosh, that character is ridiculous, man.
Yeah. It amazes me I don't see her competitively as much as you think she should, you know?
You don't? She's not around very often, but that said, when she was around, she mattered. She won EVO Japan in 2020.
Right. I think now it's a Luke. It's just Luke's everywhere.
I mean, that's true. Like Luke is a way better Sakura if you think about it, right? He's a Sakura and then some after that. So yeah, you're definitely not wrong. But
yeah. I hope, dude. I hope that character is. I'm all for like the new meta. I'm all for like, you know, Kim, Luke, and Jamie is the new, you know, Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li, and I'm all for progressing forward and making new. But gosh dang it, Luke is so annoying. You know.
Yeah, I would say at the very least, yeah.
He would be less annoying if he wasn't played so much competitively.
I just wish they'd fix him before they close the book on Street Fighter 5. That's the only thing that really bothers me. Just bring him down a peg so in 20 years I don't have to deal with Street Fighter 5 Luke. That's my big thing.
Yeah. So
just like 20 years later, we're still dealing with Third Strike Chun. Third Strike Chun is still a problem in 2023. It's like, why does it have to be that way? Like with Luke, just fix him, please. But I don't know. But I mean, You know me, I'm an old man. I hate everything new. I can't stand the 3 new characters. I hate Jamie.
See, I'm the opposite. I love new characters. I love new styles and new mechanics. I like new looks and new designs. Like, I'm all for it. And I like to see things change, and I like to see companies like Capcom take risks, you know? So I
guess my perspective is Hakan was a risk, and I don't get to play Hakan anymore, right? So it's just like a lot of my favorite characters are risks that we never saw come back. So it makes me really jaded on new characters, especially when, like, as someone who likes T-Hawk and loves Guy, the fact they probably can't be in the game anytime soon because it's just a sour taste in my mouth. Jamie, even though he's the one that bothers me the most, is the least offensive just because he is a drunken boxer. And I don't know, he kind of seems like
I like it, dude. I've always liked it. Like the Drunken Master, the Jackie Chan movies, like I love that movie. So it's really cool to see that. And gosh, what was that movie called? It wasn't even that great of a movie. Forbidden Kingdom, I think is what it was. And Jackie Chan and Jet Li were in it. And you get to see Jackie Chan do the drunken boxing thing again. So it's like I'm all for the drunken boxing. I like that style, and it's really cool to see it be implemented into a fighting game well.
To be fair, I want to say that Yoon and Yang's uncle, maybe it was their grandfather, but it's the person who runs the restaurant they work at. I think he was a drunken boxer in Street Fighter 1.
Okay.
So it kind of fits, but like I said, Yang's my favorite character.
Yeah.
So the fact that he has to sit out a game because of this Red Bull asshole just doesn't sit well with me, right? But that's me though. Like, I'm really trying not to rain on people's parades these days, right? I'm trying not to take. I don't mind being negative, but I don't want to take away other people's positivity, right?
This Red Bull asshole.
I mean, that's all I think. He just reminds me so much of Ali G, man. But whatever, it's fine. It's fine. It's not fine, but it's fine.
That's good. It's good. It's good.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, I like Jamie. I like the character. I think he's fun to play. He has a cool design. He's I like it. I think it's a cool character. But
I just think there's a grace and an elegance to Yoon and Yang. Especially Yoon, to be honest with you, because Yoon is just, to me, when it comes to fighting game characters, Yoon is the image of confidence. Of, I am so broke that I don't even need to lift up my hat to look at you. Like, you can't even see my eyes. I already know I've won. And just like,
he has a cool look, man. I like that with the long braided ponytail with the hat and the baggy pants and Converse, dude.
He's got the NKX ponytail from Kung Lao.
Yeah, and then wearing the chucks with the traditional Chinese shirt or top. Yeah, dude, it's Yoon.
He looks sick, man.
Yoon is a cool looking character, man. I would. He's in my list. He's definitely Yoon is in my list.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have Yoon PTSD from Street Fighter 3 and Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
Kazunoko was the final. Kazunoko's Yoon was the last note in the symphony of Street Fighter 4 until we went to Street Fighter 5, and people do not forget that easily.
Yeah.
So, but man, gosh, when I think of cool, powerful characters, Yoon is right on top.
Yeah, and dude, I really wish I was paying attention to Street Fighter 4 competitively when it was around, because I wasn't. But yeah, Yoon was he was so good in every game he's been in. He's been a great character, So
yeah, Yang was really good on release, although both twins were broken and when they first showed up in Arcade Edition. But Yang got beat down to low mid tier. So he did not survive the balance changes of Street Fighter 4. But yeah, I mean, to me, back when I liked Rose, when Rose won Evo, when Luffy's Rose, I want to say beat. It wasn't Mago. It was a Sagat player. I can't remember which one it was anymore. But yeah, dude, I was like, wow, a Rose player, a French Rose player. Luffy got on the map because in Vanilla Street Fighter 4 he beat Daigo. And I was like, because everyone thought Rose was trash. And in a way she was. She wasn't working right back in Vanilla, but Daigo lost to a French Rose player no one had even heard of, and then like 3 to 4 years later, he won Evo. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun journey
with a PS1 controller.
Yeah.
Of all things.
Yeah. Life is good. What can I say? Oh man. So Street Fighter 4 had some great moments. That's really when I started watching everything competitively. Street Fighter Marvel 3 was such a big deal because we could finally watch something other than Street Fighter 4, right? Because that's all we were watching. But yeah, so Yoon is just, I think, there's such an authority to that character. There's such an authority to the name Yoon when it comes to like balance and just iconic fighting games, right? Because Street Fighter 3 is an iconic fighting game. If your character is in Third Strike, that your character already has a seat at one of the most like quality tables of all time, even 12.
Yeah.
Right? And Yoon and Chun-Li are like the king and queens of that table. So it just, it's so fascinating to me. So Jamie, that's why I don't like Jamie. I can't help it, man. I can't help it. You just can't, it's a tall order to replace Yoon and Yang. Like, Yang's still my favorite character.
Yeah,
that's because he's my character. I saw him, decide he was super sick, and adopted him into my roster of favorite characters. But like, you just can't argue with Yoon. You can't argue with what he is and how and what he represents, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
So yeah, but again, wish list. These are characters I would like in. These are not who I think should be in.
Oh, you have a list of characters that should not.
Oh, no. I have a characters who I think should be in despite what I want. Characters that I think just belong in Street Fighter 6 because either they've been gone too long or they're just too important, right? Like,
yeah, they're like, there's no logical explanation. This is just what I want, and here's why.
Precisely, yeah.
Okay.
This is kid in a candy store logic.
Got it. So, yeah, we'll wrap up. I'll give you my 5 real fast, and I think I think we've already kind of discussed it like outside of the podcast, but number 1 by far is Decapre. She's my favorite, one of my favorite Street Fighter characters. And she had a significant role in Street Fighter 5 story, but she was really good in Street Fighter 4. And it's cool to have like a really good charge character. And she played really well in Street Fighter 4. And it was just really cool to have another doll that's not Cammy. So
and I like Decapre a lot. I think that character is super sick. She is unfortunately in the exact same boat as Hakan in terms of the FGC, or at the very least in terms of our Discord. Decapre is not popular on our server, and again, I always kind of like get like my brawling fist out, like the Irish pose, like whenever Decapre is brought up, because it's just like, if I don't protect that character. If I don't defend Decapre, not a lot of other people will. But if I'm being honest, I absolutely understand why people don't care for her. She's very similar to Cammy.
I mean, she's a clone. She's literally a clone of Cammy. So,
but she also
even though she looks kind of different,
she has rainbow teleports and rainbow offense. Like there are very significant differences.
Yeah.
One thing Decapre has over Hakan though is that people like the lore of Decapre, and she has that undeniable fan service element that Cammy has. Cammy's been riding that wave for 20 years, and then Decapre shows up, and some people took to it, others did not. Right? Hakan has no fan service. No one is Googling images of Hakan, right? So yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. There's not a lot of image. When I was kind of having fun with that Decapre redesign, because I thought it would be really cool if Decapre was added into Street Fighter 6, that she would have that Cammy treatment to where, she's not under the control of M. Bison, so she can kind of look like the way she wants to. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna give her like the sports bra yoga pants, but she's gonna wear like a fur coat, and instead of a bob cut, she's gonna have like long platinum blonde hair and having like an eye covering, to cover like not a full mask, but just like one like eye covering. And for whatever reason, the Japanese like to give like anime characters like a one eye, and yeah, I just thought or an eye patch. I'm sorry, but I just it's just really cool to have like another doll in the game. Like even if they put in like maybe like Jill in the game, or who's the one that married T-Hawk? Didn't T-Hawk marry a doll?
I think so. I can't remember the doll's name, but she's the one with the long black hair.
Right. And yeah, I just think it'd be really cool to have like another doll in the game that's besides Cammy, preferably Decapre, just because I have a soft spot in my heart for Russians and or Slavic people in general, just because I live near Sacramento, which is there's a huge Russian, Ukraine, Romanian community over here. But yeah, so Decapre be really cool. And number 2 is Yoon, but we've already covered Yoon. I really like to see that character. And if Yoon is going to come back, Yang has to come back as well. Yang is not in my top 5, but I feel like my number 2 spot would go to Yoon and Yang together, just because it's like you can't have one without the other.
The idea has been floated that you could do a Noob Smoke thing with Yoon and Yang.
Don't do
you
that.
Make them one character.
Kind of like Zeku.
Yes. Well, yeah. So the way I would do it, because you have to understand that they were literally palette swaps when they debuted, right?
Right.
Yang was a clone. So the way I would do it personally is they have mostly the same moves.
Mm-hmm.
Yoon gets to keep his mid-range forward special.
Mm-hmm.
And then Yang gets to keep his Rekkas. And they would have different command normals. But other than that, they are mostly the same. But however, if you switch to Yang, you have access to the level 1 super. With Yoon, it is level 2 super. And since level 2s Street Fighter 6 are usually installs, that's where you get the Ganasian. And then for the level 3, they both have the same level 3. That's how I would do that.
That sounds interesting. Right. That'd be kind of cool to have that. I mean, it'd be very unique. It would kind of bring in. It would have the classic Street Fighter style mixed in with like a kind of a modern controls or modern mechanics. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it would be really sick. But you're right. If I had a choice, I would just have Yang. I would like Yoon to be in the background on the select screen, but Yang is my boy, right? So
yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't want them to have that to where you can tag them out, I guess. But I feel like Yoon and Yang would exist together. Like as two separate characters, but it's like if you're gonna make a Yoon DLC, Yang is gonna have to be DLC as well, and vice versa.
It's funny because when you ask a lot of the guys on our server, they all say bring back Yang, don't bring back Yoon.
I think that's just because they're scarred from Third Strike.
Yeah, exactly. There is Yang does not have the stigma of Yoon. He's just a really cool Third Strike character, right?
Yeah.
I think people find Yoon obnoxious, but that's what makes the overpoweredness cool. Is he's so obnoxious and cocky that when he does Ganasian to you twice in a match, it's hilarious. Like it just works, right? I think that's part of the appeal of Yoon, is that he plays like an asshole because he is an asshole. So I don't know. I would have Yang by himself, but I will take anything I can get at this point because so many people are just not big on the twins anymore.
That's such a bummer too. It's like they're so cool.
Well, that's why you need to patch your games, dude. That's why everyone hates Luke.
That they embed 90s hip hop so well too. It's like, speaking of soundtrack of Third Strike, it's like when I think of that, I think of like New York hip hop, and hearing Yoon in his restaurant, like I can imagine Yoon like working out with his I forgot what they're called, the Chinese like dummy with the 2 thing, and doing his workouts, like listening to hip hop. Like that's what I imagine Yoon doing.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't I just I can't remember I don't know if I ever knew the name of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but it's just I just feel like they embed, like, you know, the late 90s New York hip hop and just the aesthetic. I think it would fit really well in Street Fighter 6.
I think even the haters can agree that their designs aged like wine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so that's my number 2 spot. My number 3 spot, and by the way, this is in no particular order, except for number 1, Decapre, because Decapre is the one character she is a must-have for me. Like, I really want this character to be in Street Fighter 6. Number 3 is actually Abel.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I like that character a lot, except I would kind of I would mix him up to be a little bit more of an MMA fighter rather than a pure grappler. You know?
That is such a polarizing choice, dude. Because I mean, I respect it. There are reasons to like Abel, but not only was he not popular designer lore wise, but he was also overpowered. So people were abled out by the end of Street Fighter 4 vanilla.
Yeah, I know. It's exactly the way people feel about Luke now. So yeah. I understand that 100%. I just, like I said, have soft spot for Russians. So and I like, you know, I like to have more big bodied characters in there too. So grapplers, you can't overload the roster with grapplers too, because so far we have Lily, Manon, Zangief, but a lot I've heard that people are comparing Manon to Abel, so I don't know if he would logically fit.
I think everyone thought she was an Abel replacement when the leak happened. So yeah,
but that leads to number 4. Number 4 and 5 are kind of mixed, but I'll just tell you, number 4 is I'd really like to see C Viper come back.
Yes, I agree. She's part of my list of characters they're not my favorite. They're not important, but they have sat out way too long for how popular they are.
They're a super dude. C Viper's the secret agent, kind of the CIA agent that she's like a mole, or like, you know, like a double agent, I guess. But she had a really unique design, and her play style too. Her specials were really unique. I really like that she like uses all her gadgets and stuff like that. So, and she's a pretty big character in Street Fighter Duel too.
She's very popular. So she was very prominent. She was one of the best characters in the game for a long time in Street Fighter 4. I want to say till the very end. She finally kind of fell off, but she broke the meta though. No one plays like Viper. Viper is basically a KOF character in terms of specials, right? So
yeah. She's definitely, she's not very Street Fighter. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I used her in Marvel 3 and I loved her. I thought she was fantastic. I thought she was super sick. I love the focus attack. But I would not play her in a Street Fighter game. I kind of liked the toolkit and how fantastic she was in Marvel 3.
It's like, I'm not going to play her, but I would like for her to be on the roster, even though I'm not going to play her.
Most of the characters on my should come back list are characters I would not play. My dream list, I'd play all 5 of those characters. But on the people who are like, this person has sat out way too long, I wouldn't play any of those characters, with maybe the exception of Karen. She's not on the wait too long list, but I think she should be in the Street Fighter 6 roster.
Was Sakura on your list?
She's on my dream list. She's not on my needs to come back list.
Okay.
Oh, no, she should be. She is the most popular alpha character. I think it's weird she's not there.
Yeah.
Well, no, I don't. She's not Schoolgirl anymore. That's why she's not there.
Yeah, but I think that's what you're saying. Like, I want Sakura back, but I don't want Schoolgirl Sakura back.
Well, I'll take it. Like, if they have to make it like a 30-year-old schoolgirl, fine, whatever, right?
I mean, you can get rid of the schoolgirl and give her like a sailor outfit, call it good. So,
well, ideally, she is just a working woman in her 30s, but like Capcom won't do that.
Yeah,
it's very much like it's just unfortunate.
See, I really liked how Capcom did. Like, I liked it with C Viper and made her a mom, like a loving mother.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool. And same that, like, I like the idea that Cammy is like, you know, she loves her sisters and saved her sisters, and she has this affinity for cats. Like, there's some I always like those little interesting perks that they kind of throw in there, you know, likes and dislikes and stuff like that. For whatever reason, they put like blood type. I have no idea why.
But, I do. That's a Japanese thing. They have their own like astrology with blood type.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, I see. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. So like,
I found that recently. I watch a lot of anime, so you start to pick up on stuff like that.
Yeah. I don't watch near. I watch some. I watch anime, but not near as much as you do. Yeah. Okay. So it's like, you know how people today are like.
I'm sorry. Continue.
It's like, I'm a Sagittarius. It's like, okay, I'm a, you know, whatever they're called. And over in Japan, they're just like, oh, I'm blood type A positive. Okay. It's like, is that how it goes? Is that like in the comparison?
It's something like that. It's certain personalities attached to certain blood types, but
okay.
You know, granted,
to be honest,
these are characters. Yeah.
To be honest, blood type makes so much more sense, because you're not going to tell me that every single Gemini, every single person that's born in between January 19th and February 20th is going to all act exactly the same and be attracted and hates and likes and dislikes all exactly the same. But for blood type makes more sense to me, because there's
it's funny you say that. Well, I'm sorry, finish that thought.
No, that was it. I'm sorry, but blood type makes more sense, because it's like there isn't like this set date of time of when people, you know, it's like anybody who's born in between this day and this day is all going to act exactly the same. But blood type makes a little bit more sense, because scientifically it's like blood, you know, circulates throughout your brain, throughout your stomach and everything. So it's like, and the reason I say stomach is because they say like there's a nutritionist would tell you that the path to your moods is through your stomach. There's a book on that. I forgot what it's called, but blood type actually makes a lot more sense, because it's like your blood can determine your moods.
There is a hard correlation between your blood and your DNA.
Yeah.
So that can't be denied.
Yeah.
However, back when I was in the philosophy department, it was kind of trendy to like rag on astrology and talk about how stupid they were and how it was pseudoscience. And all that's correct. I agree with all that. But I said to myself, so we all agree the thesis of astrology is false. This has nothing to do with anything, so I do apologize. We all agree the thesis of astrology is incorrect.
Okay.
That the stars dictate your personality and your choices and your situation.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. But part of me was like, but the idea that the time of your birth affects your personality, I feel like something like that might actually be true. Because for whatever reason, this idea just won't die. And we're finding it in multiple cultures. So what is going on here? And when all my friends were like, astrology, I'd be like, well, hold on. Let's take a different thesis. What if the time of year you're born actually did affect your personality? They're just like, the stars, Aquarius. I'm like, okay, fuck you. So anyway, fast forward to 2023. There's actually hard evidence that the day of your birth actually does affect your personality and affects your disposition to mental illness. So they can all suck it. Anyway, that's all I was going to say there. But yeah, the science ruled in my favor on that one.
Right on.
It's vitamin D, by the way. That's what affects it. And when your mother's pregnant, the amount of vitamin D they intake will affect your personality and your disposition towards schizophrenia. So you can't see it, but I'm doing the wrestling thing where I take both my hands and slam them towards my hips, and I mouth the word "suck it." So yeah. But anyway, Street Fighter, yeah. I apologize about that.
Right.
It's nice to win. That's all I can say. It's nice to win.
Right on. Oh my gosh, dude. Anyway,
yes. But I think those are all good choices, right?
Yeah.
We have DiCaprio. I always say, like, characters I think should come back are not always my favorite characters. I actively dislike Fei Long. He should come back, dude. Fei Long should just come back. I hate the character. I don't hate him, but I would never play as Fei Long, and he should come back.
I don't like Fei Long. I don't want another Bruce Lee clone. I
know, but he's the first Bruce Lee clone, though, right? Like, he's the original Bruce Lee clone. And he's popular. I agree with you. I would never play as Fei Long. Again, shirtless dude, not my favorite. I'll add him to the long list of shirtless dudes I do not care about. But man, he's popular, and man, people want him back. And he's one of the original SF4 characters. He's one of the new challengers, man.
Yeah. No.
Okay, fair enough. Honestly, if
I don't want Fei Long back. I do want
I'd try exactly one tier for him if he never came back. But I'm sorry, go on.
I do want my number 5 spot is Kareen, the Gil assistant. I think she should come back, and I think it would make sense because
I think you said Kareen, my bad. I missed it.
Isn't that how you pronounce it?
No, Colleen is what I say. But I thought I heard an R in there, so that's my bad.
I think I accidentally did say Kareen because, it's.
I think you said that earlier. I thought you were talking about Karen, so my bad. Kareen is actually how you pronounce Karen, but
I know that's why I said that. So Kareen is the upscale blonde, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Colleen is who I want back. The Gil assistant.
I think Randy's theory is correct, and all the Third Strike characters are trapped on an island. I think Randy's absolutely right about that, which would explain why we haven't seen anyone post Gil. But yeah, I agree with you. I think she's a great character.
And like I said, kind of a soft spot for Ukrainians, just Slavic people in general. But I think she's Ukraine. That's her background. But yeah, the Gil assistant I thought was pretty cool. She had a really cool kit. She's really fun to play in Street Fighter 5. I was really happy when she was first came back and everything. I remember watching Max Dude's reacts videos, and like to have this character back was so cool. And or not back for like just playable in general. And I'm like we talked about it, I know we talked about it earlier. It's just kind of a bummer it took so long for Capcom to make her playable. But I would put her honestly at like my top 3. Actually, so my this list right here, my 5 that I would like to come back to Street Fighter 6 is this is my logical must-haves. Like these are the people I would really like to come back that can come back. So not like my kid in a candy shop. It is my kid in a candy shop list, but it's also a list that I think could logically would make sense.
I mean, it's a good list. So we have Colleen, DeCapri, Yoon, and Yang in one spot, and Abel. Abel's. I mean, I can't lie to you, man. I'm not an Abel guy.
That's fine.
I probably won't be an Abel guy anytime soon. But
I didn't even play him. I just think he should come back.
Yeah, I mean, if I put Hakan on my list, I can't, say anything about anyone else's list, right? So, yeah, I even like. Okay, it's not on my list, but I even like Rufus. All right, like it's like
I hate that character.
I know that's fair. I get it. I don't blame you.
Stupid staff. Yeah, but
yeah, I am the one Rufus fan, and that's okay. I get it. Like he's not even on my list. I think with a better costume, and better facial hair, or honestly, I would give him like the Jack Black kind of long hair and get rid of the braids. And I think he'd be really sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
But yeah, DeCapri is like the must-have. Like I am praying that this character makes it back in, just because I my secondary, like my main is Cammy, but my secondary is Colleen. So to have DeCapri and Colleen back in the game would be really, really cool. I like C Viper as well. Yoon Yang for sure. But I don't want that Noob Smoke kind of tag team. I would much prefer them to have to be separate spots, but I only put them in the second place, because if you're going to have one, you have to have the other.
I mean, I will take what I would like them both, right? I mostly agree with that. I wouldn't hate seeing Yang by himself. I think Yoon by himself would put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, right?
Yeah.
Because if it was just Yoon, then people would be like, "Oh man, you separated the twins. How could you?" But if it was just Yang, people would be like, "Well, I don't like the twins being separated, and I kind of hate twins in general. But now Yang can finally get a chance to shine. You know, we can enjoy Yang without having to worry about seeing Yoon in grand finals, right? I think Yang would be a lot more positively received.
Maybe, I don't know, because like now I don't exactly know, because this was my next thing I was going to say was how do you think they would be? I think Yang would be more positively received in Japan, and I think Yoon would be more positively received in America, because Americans like confident, arrogant, cocky characters versus the Japanese like a lot more disciplined and serious characters.
I mean, there's some popular, not so serious characters in Japan, though, right?
Yeah.
Like Naruto being a big one.
Yeah.
Goku, maybe.
Yeah. I think, you know what? Yeah, I retract that statement, because Vegeta's really popular in America. But if you were to ask Akira Toriyama, he actually does not like Vegeta. I think he's openly said that he doesn't like that character.
That's right. He likes Gohan, he likes Piccolo, and he likes Goku a lot. He does not like Vegeta.
Yeah, but I think he said he wanted to write out Vegeta, but because Vegeta was so popular, he kept him in. In America, like the West loves Vegeta. So so
we're edgy over here.
I officially retract that statement, because that's the thing. I wish I knew way more about Japanese culture and the way that the Japanese think of their characters, because I know for a fact that they look at their stories, their characters, their games, the philosophies significantly different than the West. And the only thing I know is American. You know, it's like, I would love to know what goes into their minds when they're creating such characters. I know that in Third Strike, when they were creating characters, they created Nash. No, not Nash. Gosh dang it, what's his name? Who's the wrestler?
Oh, Hugo?
Sorry? Not Hugo? Not Hugo, the American wrestler.
Oh, Alex.
Yes, Alex with the bandana. Okay, yeah, Alex. He looks like a roided out Axl Rose, and it's like they created that character, and I think Alex was supposed to be the main character, or is the main character, and they created him specifically because they want to appeal more to a Western audience. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, no, stop appealing to Western audiences. Like, don't do that. You're doing things great appealing to Japanese audience, and we will like come to you because we like what you're doing for the Japanese. We want more of that. We don't want you to appeal to us. We like how you're doing things, you know? So that's why it's like the philosophy behind their character design and their story design and their costume designs. It's like, what goes into that is I would love to know more about. You know what I mean?
The way it works, I love Alex. Whatever they did worked, man. I'm a big Alex guy. I would never play him because I think his moveset is weird, but like if they wanted to appeal to the West, they kind of did it because Alex is universally loved.
He is. Yeah, he totally is.
I think the problem is that Third Strike got rid of so many classics in a time where people did not even know Street Fighter had a third game at the time, right? I think we got a New Generation in at my arcade, and that was it. But I agree with you though. Appeal to the Japanese first.
Yeah.
And usually the West will follow because people like anime because it's Japanese. They like Japanese games often because they offer a different alternative to the Western entertainment. Now, granted, you can go too far on that. Like, you don't want a Lucky Chloe situation. That's the extreme on the listen to the Japanese side of things, right?
What's wrong with the Lucky Chloe?
I mean,
I like Lucky Chloe. What's wrong with Lucky Chloe?
She has cat paws. I don't know what you want me to say, man. She has gloves.
She's an e-girl. You made an e-girl fighter, bro. I mean, don't you watch anime? I thought you'd be totally into that.
That's a stereotype, sir. I mean, like, she is clearly kawaii culture, right? Mm-hmm. In a game with Kazuya, in a game where I threw my son off a cliff to see if he was strong, like and then you had Lucky Chloe. Now, again, you're right.
That's the most anime thing. I remember, who was it? Do you ever heard of Long Beach Giffy? Oh, he's a TikTok or YouTube Shorts comedian, Facebook Shorts comedian, and he does a lot of like play on with anime characters. And he'd be like, the villain's backstory is always over the top, and it shows like, you know, the hero like on the ground. He's like, oh man, how did you get so strong? And he's like. You can always see this. And it shows a close up on the antagonist's mouth, and he's like, every morning my father would punch me in the chest and then bury me alive and shoot me while I was in the ground, and it made me ultra strong. And you're like, gosh dang it. You're like, oh my gosh. Like, he's like, and then I would drown myself amongst the piranhas, like, to make my skin extra rigid, and like all these different, like, you know, typical anime villain, you know, things. And it's like, it's like that's what happens in Tekken. That is like, I'm gonna throw my son off a cliff to make him stronger.
It's a shame, because you should have just watched One Punch Man. All you gotta do is 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, and 10 kilometer run. You're good.
And then you can be a hero part-time and lose all your hair.
Banana in the morning, dude.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's I think I guess it's too far for Western audiences. I have learned to ironically like Lucky Chloe. Like, I still don't like the character, but I think the joke is funny now, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I liked her kit. I thought it was cool. I thought it was kind of cute when she did a little dance. She's like, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, like she was fun to play. But I get why people wouldn't like her, because, like I said, Tekken is sad fighting. So it's like, you know, it's a big giant family feud. What's that?
Bear shows up.
Freaking Coda. Yeah.
Tekken is just naturally schizophrenic, right?
Or like, Kuma. Is it Kuma? My bad.
And Panda.
Yeah, Panda as well. Yeah, there's a little bit of goofiness to it, and I get that and everything. But anyway. But yeah, those are the characters I'd really, you know, like to see come back. And I know it's DLC, it's like too far out there and everything, but I like, if I could give any message to Japanese developers and animators at all, it's like, please don't listen to the West. Do things the way you're doing things, because the way you're doing things are working really, really well. And I like the way you're doing things. I like the stories. I like the characters. I like the designs. I like the mechanics. It's doing really well. And just the Japanese will come to you, or Japanese, I'm sorry. The Americans in the West in general they'll come to you, because we I like what they're doing. Don't try to appeal to us.
You know, especially like if you're going to ask the West, corporate going to respond. So you're not going to get a real answer on what the West wants. Like, apparently in the West, they thought I wanted like Ant-Man 3. I don't. So like, it's the West doesn't even know what I want. So they can't tell Japan what I want, right?
Yeah. I mean, you'll find like, I'm sure like, you know, Harada will sit down with Ed Boon, and Ed Boon would give his example. Oh, what does the West want? But then you can go and sit down with like the developer of Fortnite, and he will give you his version of it, and the developer of Call of Duty and his version of it. It's going to be a bunch of different versions of it. I just really, as of the past couple of years, the Japanese game developers have created such wonderful games and I mean, you like philosophy. Did you play Nier Automata at all? If you like
Yeah,
philosophy, it's like that's the game for you.
I love the game, honestly. I think the game is really good. The philosophical stuff got annoying. Like,
Oh, okay.
when I say philosophical, what they're saying is it's continental philosophical, which means 20th century French and German nihilism.
Yeah.
So it's a very specific niche of philosophy, and it's a niche of philosophy that's kind of stupid and has not aged well at all.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, if you took either French existentialism or German nihilism seriously, you run into some extremely dark consequences that no one actually believes in. But Street Fighter. So I don't want to go too dark.
Go too dark on it and stuff like that. Yeah. So that, I mean, that would be my message for them is just like, dude, you're doing things great. I love what the Japanese are doing. Keep doing what you're doing. And don't try to appeal to an American audience, appeal to a Japanese audience. Cause over here in like the Americans, I don't speak for all Americans, but personally, I'm like, I like what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Cause it's working really well.
Yeah. I like I said, I mostly agree. I think they need to avoid those pitfalls of like otaku catering. I think that's where it gets dangerous, right? That's what made like some of the worst anime in the last 10 years have come from just trying to pander to a really niche, really weird group of people, right? I think that's the only thing they need to worry about. Other than that,
be careful. Be careful with that one.
Yeah,
no, just like the weird group of people.
Unfortunately, there's money in those people, which is why anime has been really inconsistent and kind of awful in spots. So yeah, even though I'm a big anime fan, if anime was personified in front of me, it personified like a physical object, I would pour peroxide all over it, right? So that's kind of what I would say to Japan is don't cater, at least not exclusively, to the weird otaku crowd. That's what I would say to them.
Yeah, because I did. It was really interesting. In like 2017, I had to work in San Francisco, and I had a couple of clients who were Japanese, and it was three. It was these. It was actually one Japanese, and she had her two friends that were visiting, and it was funny because they totally they fell asleep in the car, and because they were on different time zones and everything. But we were talking and stuff like that, and they were actually telling me they're like, yeah, it's even in Japan, like the anime crowd is mostly men, and there is a small amount of women. Now she was saying this is just in her experience and everything, because she said like she doesn't watch a lot of anime, but she did say that it's the first thing that Americans usually ask, because like, oh, do you guys like watch a ton of anime? And she's like, actually, like me and my friends don't watch any of it at all. And I was like, okay. But it's like it's so prevalent now in the US, like that's just what people watch.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if a Japanese person came to the US and asked me if I watched, I don't know, Ben 10, I'd be like, no, I've never seen an episode in my life. Like, really? You don't watch Ben 10?
I was going to say like wrestling. Like I figured the Japanese would come over here and watch like, oh, do you watch WWE?
And you would say it's mostly men. It'd be a very similar response. I don't watch wrestling, of course, but it's funny though. Like the women who do watch anime in Japan, from what I understand, follow like the magical girl franchises like Sailor Moon or like Pretty Cure and stuff like that. They're not really watching like Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
To my knowledge. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I won't begin to try to answer it, because I'm an arrogant American who doesn't know anything about Japanese culture and Japanese, trends and stuff like that. That's the whole point of what I was saying, was like, I would love to know. I would honestly love to sit down with a panel like of Japanese people and know what they and have them tell me what they know. I would love to sit down with Daigo and just be like, bro, okay, what's going on over here? Like, what are you guys doing? Because it's awesome. It's like it's really cool. Like,
He'd give you the most boring old man answer Daigo usually gives for everything, man. He's such an old man at heart. He works rocks to all the tournaments. Like, yeah,
it's like I've only seen Daigo give 2 looks, and it's like one of them is this is that, and the other one is that. It's like those are the only 2 Daigo looks I ever see, you know.
I mean, he seems like a super nice guy, right?
Right.
He's not like he's just so, his temperament is very old man, in my opinion. Like he has the energy of a very kind uncle.
He's Uncle Iroh.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, he's the wise old uncle that you want. And what's funny is he streams too, and he's like really talkative in his live streams. So
yeah, shout outs to FGC Translate. They have been invaluable, and they do not get enough credit for all the great stuff they do.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, yeah, do you have any final thoughts on Street Fighter 6?
Street Fighter 6, I do think, is ultimately a really good game, and I'm only critical about it because I feel like the conversation around it is either incomplete or just partially dishonest. I like Tekken 8 a lot because I like fighting games that have my favorite characters in them. And I think if you check that box, they've earned my goodwill. So I'm going to give it a chance. I tend to lean towards more offensive styles anyway. If I'm playing mid range, I'm basically trying to choke out my opponent with options. So yeah, I think Tekken 7. You know, if the Tekken 7 style doesn't translate into Tekken 8, that would be super unfortunate, and we still won't have a way to play that game properly. But Tekken 8 could still be a good game. So I hope people give that a chance. I hope we also see more of the roster. As for the $2 million, I think it can only help, right? I think if nothing else, it is a very good expression of positive will from Capcom. So yeah, I don't think it will hurt anything. I love it when people I admire get paid money for doing what they do best. So yeah, that pretty much covers all my thoughts on everything.
Yeah, I completely agree with it. I think Street Fighter 6 is actually like jumped to they've beaten a lot of games to the punch as far as like, you know, providing a solid winnings for their competitors, and it seems like they really care about it a lot. It's a great marketing strategy as well, which is probably the main part of why they are doing that and trying to appeal, you know, like you're saying, attracting views is the biggest is one of the better and bigger marketing strategies of 2023. And so I think they're doing a really great job. So far, the game has been gorgeous. It's one of the best looking fighting games I've ever seen in my life. The mechanics behind the game is great. At first we were a little bit kind of skeptical about not the parry system, but you know, the drive impact and you know, I've said this before, meter management is going to be a big deal in this game, but regardless, I think it's great. So far, everything I've played in it, because I played in the beta, you played in both betas, and it's been fantastic. I don't really have a lot to say about Tekken 8 other than it looks great, and I like the fact that it's a little bit more aggressive, or a lot more aggressive. I know a lot of people are kind of skeptical about the game going in, but I would just say keep an open mind and see if you like it, see if you don't, you know. So that, and Japan, keep doing what you're doing. Don't listen to American audiences, because what you're doing works, and I like what you're doing. I like how you're, you know, designing your video games, and you know, you're with all the stories, all the anime, all the characters. It's great. Finally was bring Decapre into Street Fighter 6 as my final thought. Bring Decapre into Street Fighter 6. That'd be great.
That's a good choice. I would not hate seeing Decapre.
Yeah, I would definitely main Decapre. If they brought Decapre into Street Fighter 6, I would main Decapre like day one. So
I think I would main Yoon as well. I'm sorry, I would main Yang if he was in the game.
I would dedefinitely play Yoon. We could have a Yoon Yang battle, and
that would be tight.
Yeah, it would.
Overpowered, so
because they're 100% going to make Yoon overpowered.
Yeah,
in that.
Every time.
So anyway, thanks for coming on, man. I know it's kind of last minute, but this was a great session. So thanks for coming on again.
Yeah, it's been a joy. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, for sure, man. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
Take care, dude.
All right, later.